Hi, guys. Welcome to the show, live from Los Angeles. This is your host, Lord Hellespont V, your favorite pseudo intellectual. We're going to talk about Seikos today. We're going to talk about the excitement that this new Seiko 5 Sports GMT watches have created. We're going to talk about the heritage of SKX 007 and SKX 009 that's being carried forward through them. As you may have noticed in their own promotional material on their own website, Seiko has actually called this trio of watches the SKX Sports Style GMT series. So they are very much aware of what they are doing with these watches. They very self-consciously made them with cases and bracelets, very reminiscent of the SKX construction. Of course, they're still Seiko 5 watches. To begin with, they only have 100 meters of a depth rating, 100 meters of water resistance, um, which I think in this case might have a justification, right? Since they're not presented as divers, even though they have the aesthetic of diver watches. They are actually GMT watches. They are travel watches, and it seems like Seiko has chosen just the right time. And I don't think it's a coincidence that many different brands have chosen this particular point in time to introduce or reintroduce or create new models that would express travel time, that would somehow display multiple time zones at this point in time, since we live in the post-pandemic era where people started traveling globally again, where people are dying to get out of their homes, dying to get out of their cities, dying to get out of their countries. And this is, at the end of the day, a move by Seiko to capture that energy and recapture some of the excitement again that SKX had generated in the past decade. SKX 007, of course, I think must have come out around 2011, I think. And I think there's something quite distinctive about Seiko SKX series that we started talking about already yesterday, and it's about simplicity, it's about durability, it's about reliability, a certain ruggedness and sportiness, but most importantly, it's about accessibility. Right? They were sports watches, they were dive watches that were presented to the general public at a very accessible price point. I don't remember exactly the list price at the time, but I have two of these watches. I'm wearing one of them now on a cheap and nasty NATO strap right here. This is my SKX 007. And I acquired this piece for about $200 at the time. And I never looked back. Um, I made sure, for whatever little obsessiveness that I have, I made sure to get the one that actually says "Made in Japan" on the dial, since I do care about Seiko and what it has in horological history, the place it has in horological history. And it's not something that I necessarily associate with the quartz crisis, and that I don't certainly don't associate exclusively with the quartz crisis, but the the design of the SKX, and I'm just gonna bring up closer picture of it so we can perhaps talk a little bit about what I mean with its simplicity, and what I really mean by the romanticism that it inspires. Because first of all, already at first glance, it's a very striking watch, right? You know, the hands are pretty distinctive, and of course, the our hand being syringe shaped, and the minutes hand arrow shaped, they are quite vintage inspired, uh, and at once very classical and supporty. When you look, of course, at the bezel insert, it's an aluminum insert, which is as it should be if you're a fan of vintage watches and especially vintage divers. Even the fonts used with their serif um, remind you of that past era, of that bygone but cherished time. Of course, the luminous material is just laid on the dial without any plots or any decoration of the sort. Same thing goes for the that day and date aperture. There's nothing that frames it. It's just naked, just there for pure functionality. And of course, the orange line of writing that pops out of the dial really emphasizes that nautical theme, and the case shape and the crown at 4 o'clock, of course, really drives home the point that this is its own watch, this is its own thing, this is a Seiko diver. Hey, I want to greet some of the viewers today. Pauli, thank you for being here, and thanks for reminding everyone to upvote. Jimmy, thank you as well. And Big Meech is bringing in some of his hatred and unresolved issues toward Seiko Steel Shiders. He says, Eddie Fu says, from a glance, I love it. And I'm assuming he said this about Seiko 5 GMTs. However, I saw an entry level Seiko prospects for 269 that's of much higher quality. Um, Please do share the model number. I got my Seiko Prospects King Turtle for about 350 when all is said and done on eBay, and you can get good deals on prospects as well. The list price of the new GMTs we'll talk a little bit. Eddie Fu says, Big Meech, agreed. Uh, Negroni, love that watch. Can't beat that watch for the money. Uh, Again, never regretted it. Enjoyed it with abandon since I've gotten it. And one of the things is, not only did Seiko teach me to wear that watch and this particular sports watch, the SKX 007, with abandon, but it really taught me to wear all my watches with the same abandon, with the same enjoyment, and with the same care at the same time. So I'm very happy about it. And I got my SKXs at a time when I had my two Rolex sports watches, and for me, they have just as important of a place in my larger collection. The three Seikos that I have, for me, have certainly an important place in the collection, which they have earned through the years. Even though, of course, my King Turtle is actually quite new, and that's an SRPE 05. If I'm not mistaken. Of course, I sometimes blank out on these numbers, but no, that is it. Here we go. Yeah, love them all. Love them all. So, in many ways, by the way, I did more or less sum up Seiko's own foundational principle for their entry line, which they call Seiko 5 for that particular reason, right? The 5 actually stands for the 5 principles they have, which is the automatic movement, the date function, respectable depth rating, water resistance, appropriate to a sports watch, worthy of being called a sports watch, the crown at 4 o'clock, which is one of their signatures, and has also a utilitarian aspect as well, since it actually doesn't dig, since the crown doesn't dig into your wrist when you're actually in activity, when you're actually doing something dynamic and sporty. And finally, the fifth principle is the durability of case or strap bracelet construction. So, in a way, SKX 007 was that watch that brought together all those 5 principles in such an harmonious fashion that there was really no need to quote unquote fix what was not broken, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why to this day parts of the collector community still has some resentment towards Seiko for having eliminated the SKX line uh, and the fact that they replaced it with a Seiko 5 line that has even a logo which is aesthetically quite divisive, but more importantly, which has robbed um, a lot of the um, features of the SKX line that made them so immediately attractive to a wide range of collectors and enthusiasts. And that was, of course, the 200-meter depth rating that made the SKXs a proper dive watch, ISO, worthy of an ISO certification. Um, and that was also what really carried through the entire community through the 2010s um, in pursuit of dive watches at any price point and segment, right? You know, at some point we couldn't we couldn't get through a week without another Kickstarter campaign or some emergent micro brands that came out with their own version of a dive watch. And that's the other point that I want to strike before I properly move into the new GMT line. That's the other point that I want to make about the SKX lineup, and that's accessibility, right? I would like to add that to everything that I enumerated and everything I shared with you about the 5 principles that gave the name to Seiko 5, and that's accessibility, right? The fact that all of these features were, all of these functional and aesthetic features, the fact that they were offered under $250, right around 200 or right below, in fact, was just extremely attractive but more importantly, was in a way incredibly democratic. Again, I'm not denying the fact that it is still something to put aside a few $100s for a watch, right? At the end of the day, we buy these things not out of necessity, not out of pure functionality, but out of a certain aspiration, out of a certain desire, out of a certain romanticism. And the SKX line of divers checked all these boxes and made it in a way that was accessible to the widest possible group of people. So, in a way, we have Seiko to thank for the emergence of an entire modding community. We have Seiko to thank for the emergence of a lot of these micro independent brands that came out with their own take on the diver watch genre, because Seiko was there first, right? Seiko was there first at supplying in quite large numbers this basic entry level, entry point sports watch that was really reliable, that was really rugged, that was really sporty, that was vintage inspired in all the right ways. And of course, it was not perfect, right? Um, it was absolutely not perfect. Uh, for example, it has a pretty pedestrian movement. I don't myself care about hacking seconds or anything, but the fact that it could be off by plus minus 90 seconds uh, per day could be frustrating to some, right? But I never go to entry level Seiko for accuracy and precision in timekeeping. I just don't want to embellish this story too much and make it unrealistic. Midtown Chuckster, welcome back. And Eddie Fu says, "Are you planning to buy this new Seiko GMT? If so, which color?" I have not made my final decision on buying it myself, but basically, that's how I'm circling back to this story now. Since, of course, Blancpain 50 Fathoms invented the modern dive watch genre, and the Rolex Submariner took over that mantle and somehow became the most iconic diver watch. But in the resurgence of online communities of watch collectors, especially in the 2010s, with all these new outlets in social media, in more journalistic platforms, on YouTube, it was really the Seiko divers and the SKX that uh, reasserted the supremacy of diver watches within the sports watch genre. And I'm expecting um, the new Seiko 5 GMT to do something similar, right? Which is what? To offer to the widest possible group of people imaginable a sub 500 travel watch, a GMT watch that costs less than 500 US dollars. And of course, today's $500 is really very much like $250 10 years ago. Don't I don't care about the official numbers for inflation. I know how far or how much um, how less uh, how less I can accomplish with the same amount of money in this point in time. So it feels like this is the 2020 or the 20s, the Roaring 20s counterpart to the SKX dive watch that in many ways defined the online community of watch collecting in 2010s. uh, I have seen, where did that Phoenician cedar, my Lebanese friend. I'm assuming, of course, but probably I'm right. Have you still got the Seiko King Turtle green waffle dial? Yes, I still have it, and I absolutely love it, adore it. Uh, I overdo it, right? You know, I kind of wore everything that had a shade of green or more like khaki uh, on that particular day, but it just is a great watch. I I wear a lot of the times my Seikos to the gym, uh, but I also take them out, and it doesn't always have to be a sporting activity. So Eddie, I have not made my mind up, but I think if I do end up buying it, it would be the black version. I really do like it. I like the way that the red uh, arrow shaped hand really pops against that black dial, which actually has a little bit of pardon me, sunburst effect. I like that subtle gradients between the two different colors on the bezel, right? A black and like a charcoal gray as the two colors on the 24-hour rotational bezel. And I also like, by and large, about these watches the fact that it has the Seiko proprietary hard legs, not only for the crystal, but also for the bezel. So again, it's one little visual trick that Seiko employed to make our vision of these watches a little more tinted with vintage inspiration, a little more forcibly romantic in a way, and I do like it. But again, of course, this is not SKX, right? We have loom plots. Eh. We have a Cyclops. Eh. These are all unnecessary embellishments, right? We don't want them. We want the old SKX back. Just give us the 200-meter depth rating and drop everything else. And I was talking to this about this yesterday. This my friend, he was I was telling him that the fact that the most accessible Seiko has the day date function and with a bilingual day wheel, I find so extravagant, so obnoxious, and so over the top that it just becomes deliciously good. So I wish they somehow kept that. I wish they preserved that. I I really love that. But hey, this is okay too. I'm not gonna bicker too much about just having the dates and having a Cyclops, having a magnifier on it. Uh, Tits and Knickers says, I miss my turtle, so I finally ordered the land tortoise and we'll be getting that blue GMT when they have them back in stock. That's wonderful, man. Um, Congratulations and wear them in good health. He says, my Seiko 5 7S26 is plus 3.4. Respect. I'm guessing you got it regulated because out of the box, none of my Seikos ever kept time like that. But again, that's not what I expect from them. Corrado, welcome back. Maybe they should work on getting one time zone accurate before adding a second. Vicious. Tits and Knickers says $875 in Australia, so in Australian dollars. Venetian Cedar says, "Take you're spot on. I've got the same watch. Absolutely love it as well. Take care, brother." Thank you, my friend. Nice to see you here. Um, it's a great watch. It's a great addition to my to my collection altogether, but the great addition to those Seikos as well, because I have, again, I have my black dial diver, I have that Pepsi, Pepsi bezel diver in SKX 009, and I have the green waffle dial in SRPE 05. But let's get back to this conversation. So they basically released three uh, different versions of this GMT watch. The black model is called SSK 001, and it has a black dial, red a 24-hour hand, and two-tone black charcoal gray 24-hour rotating bezel. You have the SSK 003 with blue sunburst dial, again a red GMT hand, and the bicolor 24-hour bezel is black and blue, somewhat reminiscent or echoing with Rolex's current GMT Master 2, also called as Batman. And you have the SSK 005, which is probably the most Seiko of all these three releases. I can't quite tell if it's a reflection simply or if this is also a two-tone or bicolor bezel, but I will assume that it is. And I will assume that it is the same color scheme as SSK 001, so black and charcoal gray, dark gray, with the numbers actually echoing the orange of the dial, and the surrounds in this case remain the same color. The GMT hand is somehow echoing uh, the AM, sorry, the lower part of the 24-hour bezel, and the three hands actually have kind of a golden accent. And of course, orange is very Seiko at this particular segment, and it has a lot to do with the nautical inspiration, of course, and the diver's watch genre by and large. So that can be either very attractive, depending on what you're looking for, or very off-putting. Of course, the black is the most conservative, even though it has the right amount of color on the dial, if you ask me, with the red writing GMT and the arrow 24-hour hand. And I'm assuming the blue will be probably the most popular. Of course, the blue color of the dial, the particular color combination of the bezel, and even I think the color of the loom, which is a little creamier than the black, I think might give it a little bit of an edge. Again, kind of doubling up on that vintage inspiration or vibe. The list price on these is 475. I think the website already had a the website already had a run of them, and they may have run out of stock, or maybe they are simply accepting pre-orders at this time. But I'm sure always your brick and mortar or online Seiko authorized dealers and sources will still serve you well, because the official statement says all three watches will join the main Seiko 5 sports collection, by which they're saying that this is not a limited edition. All these models, the GMT watch, will be a mainstay in the Seiko 5 sports collection, and they will be available. at selected Seiko boutiques and other retail stores worldwide in July 2022. Yeah, I really do like it. Like I see the family resemblance with SKX. That's one box check there. I actually I actually uh, liked the fact that they kept the Seiko proprietary Hardlex crystal. Um, I don't know. I know it's not, it's not really the favorite among many. A lot of people made a lot of bread from replacing these things with sapphire crystals. I never had a problem with it. Um, Hardlex is kind of a magnet for thumbprints in a way, but they can be easily uh, wiped off. All sorts of smudges can be easily wiped off, so it's never been a huge problem. Um, and in a way, it has some of the visual romance of the acrylic, even though with a relatively flat crystal, that's almost impossible to achieve. And most of the durability of sapphire. So it's I think it's a fantastic trade-off, honestly, and the fact that they extended that hard legs to the bezel as well, kind of achieving a bakelite effect. Um, and if you know, you know. It's it's I Joe is really something else. Joe, just jump on. Stop sending me naughty pictures from Instagram. He's sending me pictures of someone called the library girl, knowing full well, of course, that's the only place where I can actually pick up women. And Messaging Matters says this watch gonna be huge. I agree. I think it's gonna sell really well. And I also expect, since they have insisted, right? This is now part of the Seiko 5 Sports collection. Expect more colors and iterations of the model to come out in due time. Now, I want to clarify one thing, of course, for those of you who want to dive in a little deeper. Um, the movement in these watches is the caliber 4R34. Um, it has a respectable power reserve. I actually like the fact that it's a slightly lower beating caliber, pardon me, at 21,600 semi oscillations per hour. For me, that just means less friction, less wear, probably more time between service intervals, longer service intervals. All that is just chef's kiss for me. Beautiful. The slight problem, right? If you are a real purist, and also I have to add, if you have unrealistic expectations about a GMT watch at this price point, what you have is not jumping 24-hour hand that you can move um, independently of the hour hand, right? So you basically have a movement that is called collar GMT. Sometimes people call it an office GMT too. Um, and you basically, when you pull the crown halfway, that's what I'm assuming at any rate. I didn't really have a hands on experience with these watches yet. But generally, this kind of movement is when you uh, pull the crown halfway and turn the GMT hand on one direction and change the date in the other direction, right? You can move the GMT hand on one direction uh, when you pull the crown on a halfway. And I'm guessing also this is why they had to eliminate the day date and reduce it just to date, because as you know, when you pull the crown halfway in SKX and in other Seiko watches, prospects included, uh, when you pull the crown halfway, you can change the date in one direction and change the day in the other direction. So now you pull it the halfway, you move the GMT hand in one direction, and then the other way you can have a quick set date. So it might not have the practicality and quick utility of a very recent generation travel watch with a jumping 24-hour hand like a Rolex GMT Master 2. But then again, we're talking about two watches at very different price points and quite clearly very different uh, segments of the market, really different ends of the spectrum, right? One is sub $500 and the other uh, 13K plus, right? I'm not even talking about how they're trending in the market. Not that one can keep track of such things at this point in time, since they have all been taking relatively major dips. But the official MSRP is, of course, $11,000 plus your local tax for sure in for the Rolex GMT Master 2. NATO is here. Doesn't the regular hour hand jump? I don't think so. Why should it jump? It's like any other watch. When you pull the crown all out, you keep moving basically the minutes hand, so the hour hand moves with it. Thomas Broadband says 140 more than the Omega Moose watch. Glad it brings you joy and others joy. Sub 500, then upgrade to $1,000 watches. Great fun zone for watch collecting. Yeah, there's a whole world. There's a whole world out there right under 500 and right under $5,000 and $500, and there are a lot of collectors who just collect those kinds of watches, and it's great. Big George is back. Hey man, nice to see you. He reminds everyone to upvote, and he says, "Love these new pieces. Finally got lucky and got a Moose watch Pluto." That's that seems to be a favorite one for many, and wear it in good health, Big George. We were just talking about the Hamilton Ventura yesterday, so I wish you were here, but you can jump on and tell us more about it and tell us how you like it so far. Alexandra is here and back, and it's nice to see him. He says, I wish they would remove the 5 logo. I'm gonna say this again. I'm not a big fan of it aesthetically. I don't really like to look at it, but I like what it represents. I like the 5 principles, 5 foundational principles for Seiko that the Seiko 5 represents. Messaging Matters says, in a perfect world, I would want a screw down crown, but not a deal breaker. I have a feeling I'll get one or more. I have that feeling too, but I have resisted it successfully so far. NATO says some GMTs jump that way instead of the 24-hour hand. Oh no, I think this is not one of those GMTs. So it doesn't have a jumping hour hand uh, in any way or fashion. It's a collar GMT, which means that you just move the GMT hand when you pull the crown halfway. Messaging Matters says collar instead of jumping our hand never bothers me. Same here, honestly. It's like think of it like the difference between cam and lever chronographs and column wheel chronographs, right? Yes, one costs more than the other to make. And yes, the cam and lever system has certain drawbacks that can affect the end user experience. But by and large, it's not something that I genuinely obsess over. For me, what the watch embodies and what it executes and how it looks like, um, the heritage that it expresses and represents, and the stories that it can tell, to me are always important. And especially if the price difference is so incredible, I don't know if I care enough. And ultimately, right, with chronographs, for example, I care more about having an integral chronograph movement, which is to say, something that a caliber that was built as a chronograph movement rather than something else taken from somewhere else with a variety of modules put on it to make it a chronograph. Evan is back. Hey, man. Thank you. You have been liking my posts on Instagram, so I know you're still alive. And thank you for staying in touch in some shape or fashion. Been busy moving east. Let's catch up soon. Hey, maybe we'll catch up on the East Coast. I may make it to the East Coast already by the next calendar year. Who knows? But I'm on the move myself as we speak. Big George says, "Thank you, buddy. Being busy, can't jump on, but keep up the good work. Thank you for the kind words, Big George." And guys, if you could give me an upvote, if you could click the like button, it would be a great help for me. I really appreciate your support and presence. Thomas says, "So did I. Did my unboxing this evening. Wearing mine now." Yes, the so Thomas, you're wearing your new Moon watch. It's that's a great watch too. And again, I can nitpick about any number of things about the Moon watch, but I like the excitement that it generated. Right? Uh, I can't hate on it just because my experience of it has not been stellar, and just because I finally decided that it's not for me. So yes, if I were to get one and get one today, I would get the all black one. I think to me it kind of represents best everything that I love about SKX, everything that I love about entry level Seikos, um, the no nonsense, simplicity, utility, and beauty that is also accessible to the widest possible group of enthusiasts. That's it. SSK 001. I think that is the one to get. And again, rest assured that there will be other colors and other combinations uh, quite soon, I'm assuming. Um, but certainly eventually. These are listed at $475, 475 US dollars, Evan. I wanna, yeah, just I'm gonna pull up the product page for SSK 001. You can see that it has a kind of sunburst effect for the dial as well. God bless, made in Japan on the dial. Can't have it any other way with Seiko. A display case back, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't actually know that. All right. Yeah. I was just talking about how I don't necessarily like um, this um, this idea of just showing um, just any random caliber through an exhibition case back, right? If there's nothing to see, if there's nothing interesting going on, why do it at all, right? Again, I'll be a fundamentalist in this case, an SKX fundamentalist, and I will say, give us a screw down crown, 200-meter depth rating, and the Seiko wave in the back on the case back. This is what we want. The the one that reminds us very kindly and subtly of Hokusai's The Great Wave of Kanagawa, right? We love it and we want it back. Design of the case and bracelet inspired by one of Seiko's best loved sports watches, known to enthusiasts as the Seiko SKX series. Gotta love it, right? That you know how much people love it. So why did you get rid of it? Really funny. Automatic GMT hand with manual winding capability, 21,600 vibrations, i.e., semi oscillations per hour, 41 hours of approximate power reserve, 24 joules, black and gray 24-hour GMT bezel, black dial, pardon me, magnified date, luminous hands and markers, large GMT hand for improved visibility and legibility. By the way, on that hand, uh, I love it because it reminds me of that arrow-like hand from the original Explorer 2 reference, right? 1655. So that's another point for the new Seiko 5 GMT. The fact that it's a Hulls case, that's another point for Seiko 5 GMT for taking up some of these vintage inspired details. And stainless steel case, stylized 5-row bracelet, trifold push button release clasp with lock, water resistant to 10 bar, 100 meters. And screw down see-through case back. It says the case diameter is 42 and a half. It's just fine. And I think we can make peace with Seiko. We can establish a truce. Let's put it like that. I think this is a good compromise. The SKX is not back, perhaps, but Seiko is certainly back with vengeance at this point of entry, at this entry level watch that it had, in a way, surrendered to, conceded to independent micro brands. And I think Seiko is coming back to take what is theirs. Alexander says, agree about display back. The forearm movement isn't exactly a looker. And Messaging Matters was saying earlier, Yes, some of us feel that traveling with a 5-figure Rolex GMT is too risky for theft or loss. That's correct. 1K or lost GMT takes a lot of stress away. Perfect. I was actually just thinking that because including travel, um, anything that's travel related, right? The beachside, poolside, uh, running around, jogging, uh, being outdoors, which is something we can do almost on a daily basis year round in Southern California. That's the time when I use my SKXs most often. And there's yet another reason for Seiko to make a GMT watch at this level, because people use their Seikos, people use their SKXs while traveling already, right? It's one of the watches that people almost instinctively reach to when they are packing, when they are ready to get everything together, their passports and everything. So why not have a travel watch that goes with it rather than a diver? And once again, Seiko divers have served me well for that function. But why not have an added GMT? Eddie says, subscribe and upvote. Hey, man, I really appreciate you guys. Please like the stream. And if you have not yet subscribed, subscribe for more watch content. We have daily streams at the same time every day of the week. And there's also content at least every other day, all watch related. And we do also have sports talk segments, usually play-by-play calls of football/soccer games and professional boxing fights. But we're open to, of course, other suggestions too. And if it's something that I can actually comment on, that I can say an intelligible thing or two, I'll happily dedicate a stream to it. And NATO says, I've already got the perfect NATO to replace the jingly jangly. I love the jingly jangly, but NATO, you're worthy of your name. I'm sure you already do. Thomas says, it was the most fun I've ever had buying a watch for the moon swatch. He's saying it was a very funny story and a surprise score. I would love to hear it. Aussie Expat says, didn't it say, whoa, I missed a few. Okay. Evan says, this encapsulates Seiko for me perfectly. Loved the watch and was thinking it would be a nice gift for my cousin's graduation. Then saw the display back. I mean, why always something that bugs me? It happens. It happens, and the NATO covers it up if you would like. Although, again, I have a certain romantic attachment to that Seiko wave on the case back, so that doesn't help that it's gone. Aussie Expat, hey, jump on, man, if you can. Yeah, this might be delivering enough value over the SKX on this watch, the GMT, the bracelet, hopefully not terrible. Hopefully, it will hit the streets at about 375. Is that realistic? Yeah, yeah. I think you can find it under 400. You should be able to find it through an online retailer or eBay before the end of the year under 400. I'm pretty sure, actually. You might have to wait. Um, I'm sure the first few shipments will be cleaned up almost immediately at the list price. But once some of the excitement dies down, some of the hype goes away, I'm sure. Messaging Matters says, Alexander, agree the workhorse doesn't need to be seen. Also, Mido has a breakthrough jumping hour GMT at about 1K. However, at 44 millimeter, it might be too large for many guys. And NATO says it would be easy enough to get a solid case back after the aftermarket. That's what the modding community is for, right? That's good. Didn't it say 42 millimeters? This watch, the Seiko 5 Sports GMT, is 42.5. The Mido he was talking about is 44. Aussie Expat says, I last traveled with my Hulk, but it was also a city I happened to be able to carry a pistol in. Good combination. Aussie Expat says, oh, shite, my Casio stopped. WTF, a Casio Duro. What's happened? It's not that old. Never had a Casio of any sort, so I can't tell you anything. I've never, yeah, I've never liked electronic watches, man. For one reason or another, they just didn't hit me. I like some quartz watches, and I've certainly had my share of Timex weekenders and swatches when I was little. But Big Me says it's not Steel Sports Rolex. 4 years since I bought the Duro. Is it likely to be the battery? Is this a parody account? Pinch a link. Seiko is charging 2 times what they should for just about everything they sell. This can be applied to just about any watch brand in existence. Every single watchmaker charges at least twice the amount they should be able to get away with, but they somehow get away with it. Aussie expat, yes, probably the battery. Oh yeah, reading here 4 to 6 years for the Casio Duro battery. Alexander says, I think I read somewhere Duro battery life is around 2 years, so you have done well to get 4 out of it. And messaging matters says not so Duro, I guess. Alexander, Duro is a solid watch. Lord, you should pick one up on the cheap. I wasn't I wasn't really bashing its solidity or reliability. I never used a watch with a digital display of that sort. I think that's what it is, right? I don't even know what it is. You just said Casio, and I assumed from the little that I know about watches that it's some sort of digital display electronic watch. It's not. Is it a? Oh, all right. It's like a Casio diver. Interesting. I had no clue, man. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, there you go. Um, when someone says Casio, I think of the calculator watch. When someone says Casio, I think of what is it? FW90, the watch that's used for IEDs, I think. FF91W, sorry, that's the one. Um that's what I remember for whatever reason. So my apologies. Let's pull it up. Marco says going to sleep but upvoted. Thank you for the support, Marco Ferrante. And NATO says Bill Gates diver for the Casio Duro. Ooh, became suddenly much less attractive. But since I didn't even know what it is, I want to at least put on display what this watch actually looks like. This is the Casio Duro, $40 in black. Oh, and it has all these adorable bezel and dial color options. Cool. All right. But it is a quartz watch, I'm assuming, since we were just talking about the battery life and everything. Pinch link. The style and feel of these watches are great. Even at an improperly high price. However, the accuracy of auto movements is so awful, would be much more attractive as a quartz or solar quartz. Yeah, again, I have I never had the best experience with entry level Seiko with accuracy and precision and timekeeping. Then again, that's not really what I'm looking for when I'm wearing a Seiko, but your mileage may vary, of course. And Thomas says, please don't kill someone over a watch. Defend yourself against harm, but you are going to feel worse taking out a guy than you are over losing a watch. Yeah, I'll let Aussie expat take that one. Hey, Oz.
I didn't hear the last question.
Thomas says, please don't kill someone over a watch. Defend yourself against harm, but you are going to feel worse
I
taking out
agree.
a guy
I
than
agree.
you are ever losing a watch.
No, I agree. But it's also hard to understand a situation where you are not simultaneously having your life threatened as well as your watch taken. Like, it's literally on your person. It's hard for them to threaten just, like, for example, how would they get it off you if they weren't physically assaulting you to begin with?
Right.
Yeah, like,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
So
Like,
the
yeah.
Casio Duro, I've never even heard of it. It's a
Oh,
quartz
really?
watch, or
Yeah, it's a quartz watch,
Mhm.
and it's a pretty basic but ISO certified diver. So you could
Okay.
say, if you liked SKX, this is probably quartz SKX in that it's a solid, real diving watch. In that it actually is rated for 200, is pretty solid. The case is actually pretty nice. Like, you
Hmm.
can see it's actually got multiple facets of the here, and it's got nice smooth polishing on here, and then satin finish on top of the lugs. The actual bezel feel is not the best, but it's okay. The jimping on the bezel could certainly be much stronger. The
Hmm.
original bezel is very naff in that it's got a triangle with a pip, but the triangle is sort of like not shaped correctly, so it's sort of
Hmm.
cut. If you go back to the original photo, so this is an Omega Planet Ocean XL bezel to give
Okay.
an orange look. So, and it really upgrades the look. Like the bezel insert that it comes with really is very naff. And then there's just a touch of red. I don't know if the lighting's terrible in here, but
The
and
tip
so is
of
the
the second
webcam.
sand, right?
The second hand is red, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a little nice, a little touch of color. So overall, I think it's pretty acceptable. I mean, the design is not objectionable. Maybe it's boring, but I don't think it's sort of ugly. You know?
Oh no, it looks like a proper dive watch.
Yeah. I think the quality of the hands could be a little better. They look really, sort of stamped out of the worst metal. But it's $40. I'm just and the case back is actually nice. Hey, check this out. It's a pretty light engraving, but there's like a swordfish on there. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we
It's
like it.
it's no alpinist, but yeah, it's okay.
God, alpinist.
Well, the alpinist does have a very nice case back. It does. Like, the engraving on the case back of the alpinist is quite nice. Like, in fact, our friend Alan, um,
Hmm.
he's got the subsequent generation alpinist, not the Saab 017.
Hmm.
I think it's like the 39 millimeter, 40 millimeter or something. But he went out of his way and got an aftermarket. I don't know if it's OEM, but certainly not stock to that to that particular watch, but a case back that actually does have the Alpinist sort of mountain logo on it.
Yeah, I mean,
But I'm surprised. This is actually one of the few watches that's ever died on me actually at this point. So 4 years. I read 4 to 6 is about right for this. So I'm gonna have to figure out what battery's inside.
I mean, speaking of the Alpinist's case back, yeah, I mean, if I had an Alpinist, I think I would mostly preserve it face down. So maybe it is good for it to have a nice case back.
Well, I'll do the audience a reminder in case they don't have one. The Alpinist case back it's okay. There's a nice little Alpinist logo there, a little mountain. Hey, it looks better than the Rolex ones. Come on, it's cool.
Well, I mean, look, I think Rolex ones are cool because they don't care. Like it's that nonchalance that defines that cool.
Yeah.
But no, look, I mean, I have the same kind of I have to take the NATO off to show off, of course, in my case.
Mhm.
But I have the same kind of attachment to
Yeah.
the wave, you know.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah. Very cool. That's a nice deep it's not an engraving, that one, right? It's sort of a emboss. It's sort of cast
Yeah.
into it. It's very nice. So I don't understand why Seiko persist with the exhibition case backs when they clearly don't have the nicest movement. I guess it's just still it's entry level, so it's probably someone's first mechanical watch in many
Yeah.
cases. So being able to see the movement is still cool because they got nothing to compare it to, you know. So there's nothing for them to hide. It's still cool. So like this is
Actually,
the
that's
SNZ, I think.
Mhm.
Like this is like $80.
Right.
Great watch, except they really do need a better crystal. I had to replace the crystal. And then you know, it's a naff movement, but you know, if it's your first mechanical, it could really get you into the hobby, you know,
Okay.
ultimately.
No, I get I get that argument actually. If look, because I was just saying that it's a great entry level watch for, you know, for someone to have a travel watch, especially a useful function. And yeah, if it serves people to get if it serves more to get more people into the hobby, if it fascinates them, if it excites them to actually examine mechanical watch movement at work, why
Yeah,
not?
I mean, it's still functional. It may not be the prettiest thing. It's still functional. I get to see the rotor. Oh, kill my laptop. They get to see the rotor moving, and they can see the escapement and the balance wheel. They can see all the parts if they're curious, and that's
Yeah.
probably more important than its aesthetic purpose, right? So it gets them into the world, right? It's not. It's I think that's probably more important than how it looks, especially at the price point.
Yeah. I mean, again, how it looks for me actually is the other way around at that price point, and for what's a sports watch or a tool
Mhm.
watch. For me, a tool watch has a case back, no exhibition, nothing to see here. Move along, sir. This is a proper watch to strap on your wrist and go use
Mhm.
it. Um, so I never would expect you know, high horological levels of hand finishing at that price segment, and not even at the 10,000 or
Mm.
$15,000 price segment either. But I would in fact prefer a solid case back for this reason, because it's supposed to be a proper tool watch. That being
Yeah.
said, I think your argument is actually has actually convinced me for this
Mm.
particular watch. Even for, you know, if they come up with a new generation of SKX inspired divers,
Mhm.
hey, make that an exhibition case back too. If it gets a few more, you know, new collectors a little more excited about owning a mechanical watch, why not go with it?
Yeah. Hey, look, so the SKX gets a little bit of deserved criticism of the movement not being super accurate. But could you imagine how ruined that particular collector would be if they started off with a watch, entry-level watch that actually was very accurate? They go to they go buy an Omega. It's like, you know what, my Seiko is more accurate, and just by chance, they may their statement may be correct. So, um, I mean, I have that experience. So one of the first people I worked closely had a nice Swiss watch. He had a Seamaster. I contacted him recently, and I said, "Hey, how's your Seamaster going?" So it's this mid 2000s era Seamaster. You know, I like it. I'd love to have one day. And he says it's still going strong. He just had to degauze it or some minor level service, like not even actual service.
Hmm.
And he says it keeps great time still. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like it's just like 15 plus years already, and it's still going strong without a service. And certainly not
And
recommend by Omega.
also, the other thing that I said earlier as well, like, I got my SKXs after already having owned um my two vintage Rolexes
Mm,
for more than not more than a decade, for about a decade,
mm.
right? Um, and again, they're not if they're not serviced recently by a very good watchmaker, uh, they won't perform at the level of coaxial escapement omega movement that has just come out of the factory, right? So my
Right.
standards when facing the SKX were very different.
Yeah.
Alan, welcome to the channel. By the way, thank you, Corrado, for your PayPal contribution. He's almost religious about it. Whenever he is listening, whenever he's in the audience, he drops something, and I'm grateful to him, and thank you for your support and presence, Corrado. Pincher Link says that's what the original SKX 007 was: entry to watches for noobs, but not actually a great watch. You're breaking my heart, Pinch. It is a great watch as an entry level watch for noobs. It is loved essentially for tricking us into buying our first mechanical watch. Yeah, I mean, in my case,
Mhm.
again, it maybe it's meant to be one's first mechanical watch. In my case, it was my third and fourth, basically, and I enjoyed them just as much. Messaging Matter says, is the GMT really a noob watch? I wouldn't recommend a true noob to get a GMT as first auto. Obviously, Seiko has many other fives. Why not, though?
Well, to be honest, even setting a date on a mechanical watch with not a brilliant movement is a little bit, you could damage the watch, right? So anything that can be done will be done in a newbie's hands. Which
Okay.
brings me to a question that maybe Alexander, if I think it's the correct Alexander, could ask, and that is, when you have a movement like the GMT Master 2's movement and you set the date by using the jumping hour,
Hmm.
um, can you reverse the jumping hour, and reverse the date? Is that
Are you
not a good thing to do? Like if it's
okay?
the
Yeah, you're
16th
not asking.
today and it's the 17th on the watch, can I just push the hour hand back instead of going a month forward? I'd love to
And
know.
obviously, it can be done, but whether it can be done, without risking the health of the movement in any
Yeah.
way, that's not a question that I can
I
I can
I
answer.
I noticed with my Explorer 2, I did it, and I wound it back through the date, and it sort of it didn't really set correctly until I wound it back to about
Mm.
8 p.m. and because I was trying to set it at about 11 p.m. at night. So I really didn't want to go that far back. I just like ka-chick, and the date window was wrong. I had to go to about 7 or 8 p.m. for it to click correctly, and then wind it back to 11. Didn't feel right. I didn't didn't feel like I was damaging it, but yeah, it really doesn't feel like it's meant to do it.
Honestly, I mean, with Seikos, whether we are talking about my SKXs or the SRP05, the King Turtle, I mean, again, I'm someone who has been around mechanical watches for a while now, but it's just you pull out the crown halfway. One way it does the date, one way it does the day. So it's not. I mean, I think it's very intuitive. With the GMT hand, it's a useful function, and there's a reason why these watches actually come with booklets. Some of us just chuck them away without thinking twice. And
I
then
do have. I should. I mean, I've never even opened the box on my Explorer 2. I could look it up. we'll
right,
find out.
the box and papers, right? So the idea is that, hey, people can quickly flip through the manual, and actually the GMT function is not so difficult to use. And NATO is basically making this point, saying the noob probably came from navigating an Apple Watch. They will manage a GMT. I agree. I agree. It's not that hard.
My Explorer 2 has never been in this box. I don't know what the whole box and papers fascination is. I really wish it wasn't a thing, but yeah, provenance and making sure it wasn't a stolen watch is such a big deal, I guess. But this was never paired with my Explorer 2. Like, it came out on a tray with the Explorer 2, but the two never met.
Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah. In fact, not a single one of my Rolexes ever was in the box. At no point have any of my Rolexes been in the box. Come on, this one's sticky. My gosh.
So
First
guys,
of all, is this actually the right one? No, it's the wrong one, but it might be. It might be for the. Okay, no, that's correct. Explorer 2. All right.
So in while Ozzy is looking at this one, we're past our first hour of broadcast. So thank you for being with us. Please hit the like button if you haven't, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell icon while you're at it. We're here with daily watch content, live streams at 7:30 PDT, 10:30 East Coast every night, and a bunch of other exciting content at the crossing of watches and lifestyle. And if you want to support the channel until we get monetized, until I reach 1,000 subscribers, please feel free to consider making a PayPal contribution. And again, thank you, Corrado, for making a contribution at lordhellespontv@gmail.com. That's lordhellespontv@gmail.com. I also have a Cash App at $LHVVV, $LHVVV. The information is crawling in the ticker and is also available in the video description.
So I was just pointing out that Rolex recommends a minimum of 25 turns if you are picking up the watch.
Okay.
There's some copy here about the Explorer 2. Shall I read the first couple sentences? What
Yes,
does Rolex
please.
say about their own watch? So the Oyster Perpetual Explorer 2. The Oyster Perpetual Explorer 2 is the watch choice for explorers. Thanks to a 24-hour display by means of an additional hand and a graduated fixed bezel, the watch allows the wearer to distinguish daytime from nighttime hours, or to read the time in a second time zone. Cool. The rest is pretty standard details, but it is interesting. It is meant for explorers, guys. Very important.
I just posted something like this on the Instagram. It was actually an ad, a Rolex ad for the first Explorer 2, so 1655.
Mhm.
And the motto is this: listen, like, oh, Rolex was always lazy in a way.
Hmm.
It says the great strength of a Rolex is strength.
I like
And
it.
the Explorer is a watch for explorers. Never forget. Never forget.
That's great.
Uh,
There's some more interesting copy here. So the orange hand enables the wearer to either see the time in 24-hour format, which is particularly useful in areas where it is difficult to distinguish day and night, such as underground or in polar regions. Oh, they know their customer.
Pinch a Link says SNE 571 P1. This is probably the watch that should take place of the SKX 007 for a watch noob in 2022, but it's not auto, so it probably won't kickstart a hobby obsession in the same way. This is it says page not found. This is a solar model, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay, so it says here you can wind the jumping hour hand on that second bullet point there.
Mm-hmm.
The date change. Set the date by turning the crown in either direction. Okay, we got our answer. Either direction is fine.
So you can actually reverse the dates or move back in time by moving the jumping hour hand in the counterclockwise direction. Good to know. And I'm guessing that same thing can be said about the GMT Master 2 as well, although we are just conjecturing.
I have that box. Yeah, I have that box somewhere else too, but it's the same movement. Or at least now this is the same movement, the 226570. Because until the 226570 came out, the GMT Master 2 was on a different movement since 2015, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, 2018, when the GMT Master 2 got the crown between the Swiss and Made.
NATO says, still, is it safe to do at 11 p.m.?
Well, the jumping hour is controlling the hour, so there's no. I was thinking about that too. Like they don't make any distinction about, oh, but is it safe to do near the jump? Like you are controlling the jump, so.
I think that's the thing, with the independently moving jumping hour hand that just manipulates the date. I just don't think they are connected in a way that can damage those gears. I just think that's the point. It is independent. But again, if we have a real watchmaker like Mario, for example, in the audience, or if Alex ever visits, we can ask him that question.
Sorry, the light in my closet here is broken.
Good. We're getting interesting vibes there.
You can't see it, but these are all the damn boxes. I never take them out of. Yeah, you definitely can't see shit.
Messaging Matters says, any possibility of mod to swap the exhibition back for a solid case back? I think that would absolutely be a possibility. People usually do it the other way around, but it's fine. Of course, not sure if I want to brag about a hard Lex sandwich.
Yeah. So the boxes never leave their bags either. I've got no reason to.
This looks like a homemade horror movie for a moment there.
Uh, Silence of the Lambs. Just need a green filter on the webcam.
Spelunking.
Oh, I didn't finish my my thing about my friend with the Omega, the Omega that ran
Yes.
so well. He said it keeps very accurate time, and then he's not a watch collector. That was his only watch, and then during COVID, he bought another mechanical watch, some micro brand. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he took it back to the store because it wasn't keeping good time. And I asked him, like, he said he was disappointed with it. Like, I took it back to the store like a couple of times because it wasn't keeping good time. I was like, what do you mean not keeping good time? And he goes, well, after like a week, it was like off by like, 30 seconds or something like that. I'm like, that could well be within spec. I mean, don't you experience this with your Seamaster? And he's like, no, that's always accurate. I'm like, oh God. I can't imagine being the salesperson for that other watch that he was disappointed in. I mean, it could well be true that his Seamaster really is that accurate, and it's just
Were you
spoiling him.
ever were you ever privy to the conversation between Mike the Snake and Alex the watchmaker about his Speedmaster?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I can relay, but basically Mike the Snake was at first complaining about, like, how it's about 15 seconds off every week, and whether you should get it serviced or not, whether
15
there's
seconds
something
after
wrong
a
with
week.
it. And then it was, when Alex prodded him a little bit, like, so how many seconds exactly? He started backtracking, like, oh, maybe it's not that bad. And like, it was just one of these nonsensical things that Mike the Snake basically talks himself into, and then takes about 2 weeks to talk himself out of. It's a fascinating exchange that went on for literally weeks and didn't
Wow.
develop into anything. And NATO says 30 seconds a week is almost COSC. Yes.
Yeah.
Chronometer certification, more or less.
Isn't it like a -2 + 5? So if it's running
Yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
it's definitely within COSC. 30,
Yeah.
yeah, 30 seconds exactly. Yeah, that would be 35 seconds would be COSC still.
I think it might be even slightly larger than that. Yeah, the -4 + 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go.
Mean is 2, greatest variation is 5. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't get the impression that the watch that my friend bought was even COSC. Like I think somewhere in the $2,000 price range. I'd never heard of it before, but certainly his expectations seemed terrible.
I think you're looking for the one. I have no such powers, Big Meech, but I'll send you thoughts and prayers.
I used to have an app, and I track like whether or not my new watch was accurate. Like I was always interested in like whether or not it's keeping good time, and invariably the Rolex does. But the last watch I did that with was the Explorer, and that was like +1 second or almost bang on or something like that. But the watches I've received since, I don't give a shit anymore, quite frankly. Like as long as it's not so far off that I notice, I don't try to do that. And I've been doing what OC recommends, that he doesn't even set his watch accurately anymore. Like even at the point of setting it, he does a minute ahead at least. Set that. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've always done in my entire life. And that's why, for example, no hacking seconds for the SKX never bothered me. Like
Yeah.
Do you really think that your mechanical watch will keep pace with the atomic clock? No.
No, I like it. It's
The Panthers are
I only dropped the setting it
vicious, by the way.
exactly thing
Alan, like
about.
look at this advice. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to
Yeah, go
share
ahead.
this. Alan Gildo says use your fingers to meet, and NATO says grab the rail and bite down hard. Sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, I've always set watches as accurately as I possibly can until about 2 months ago. My wife and I, we go out often. I always have to set her yacht master, which is date plus time, and so it really is a pain in the ass to set truly accurately. So I stopped setting hers accurately, and then I stopped setting mine accurately. Like, but it took her watch to get used to not doing it properly. Quite
Well,
a
it,
properly. I mean, I'm not
in a
really.
way, it took her. You learned the lesson from her because she doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I mean, I wear the watch, or she wears the watch for like at most a day before putting it away again. I really want to get her a steel sports watch because um, she doesn't want to wear the gold one literally all the time. So
No,
I wish she had a real daily.
steel
She can do
sport,
the Opmaster
steel
daily, but
sport.
she doesn't.
Yeah, get her a steel stunner.
Yeah.
Pinch a link. It's nice when my modern Rolex keeps within 1 sec per day. Once you have that, it's tough to wear a Seiko and see it's off by 5 minutes after less than a week of wear. Well, Pinch a link, thanks for sharing. But to me, honestly, this is like comparing the accuracy of my mechanical wristwatch, most of which are vintage. Like imagine my collection. I have 6 luxury watches and 3 Seikos. And if you sideline the 3 Seikos, the only watch I have from the 21st century is the Reverso. So that says a lot about me as a person, I think, and not very good things. Um,
I'm
but
wearing a
what I
watch
will,
that isn't even ticking.
yeah, what I will say is, um, I never looked at it like that because you could always say, well, my iPhone is much more accurate than my modern Rolex, and it's kind of tough to give that up, right? Or you can say my Apple Watch is much more accurate than my Omega. It's tough to give that up because
I,
I
I
don't
think
think
it
it's
can
even.
matter if you're really one watching it though. You got to recognize that some people really do wear one watch, even if they've got a collection. It may be very close to one watching it because it's on so often it never dies, and so
I
they
mean,
may
look,
experience extreme variations of time eventually.
I'm not gonna make very generalized statements, but honestly, if you are in a line of work or if you're living the kind of life where seconds matter, probably how your mechanical watch keeps time would be the last of your worries, I feel like. But again, correct me when I'm wrong.
Mm.
um yeah, so for me it's not a fair comparison, and I think even for a one watch guy, you can make that argument to say, well, maybe you should get an Omega because even the anecdotal evidence piles up, and you're saying that it performs quite well. For others, they might say, oh, this has a silicon hairspring, silicon escapement, and this and that, and I don't care for their designs, and it never clicked for me. I have to understand that too. So I do respect Pinch a Link. I do respect you. So if your primary uh, if your priority in the hobby and in the collecting is accuracy, that's it, and that has to be your guiding principle. Just understand that it's not that for everyone.
What are some of the comments here?
Alan says, no hacking bothers me. I set mine perfectly when I first wind them. Big Meech
Mm.
GMI, please help. I'm in the nude, curled up like a shrimp, sweating like I just ran the Boston Marathon under 10 minutes. NATO says every 3-4 days I hack mine until it's 30 seconds slow. And then over the next 3-4 days, it catches up to 20-30 seconds fast. So I'm always within half a minute of the right time. That sounds satisfactory enough to me, actually. Pincherling says, fair enough. JB, welcome back. Even our calendar is off by a quarter day over a year.
I stopped worrying about hacking with the Daytona. Like I could have stopped worrying about it with the Speedmaster, but
Mhm.
3861 did introduce hacking, so it is a hacking thing. And I was setting it, but it's the Daytona that really made me stop worrying about hacking as well, because quite frankly, it's illegible. So it's really pointless. Like the Speedmaster, I could see it, but the Daytona, I could, yeah, it's illegible. So there's really no point setting that very well.
So you basically realize that I'm basically wearing an expensive piece of man's jewelry, and I should just not bother.
I'm certainly thinking of other things when I wear the Daytona, and not necessarily the time. Like, is this guy going to rob me? Did I just get scoped by this guy? Is this guy a spotter?
Pincherlink says, if I'm going to quote unquote slum it with my Seiko Timex, I like to at least enjoy the benefit of great accuracy of a quartz Scheider movement. Fair
That's
enough.
fair. That's very fair.
Just my preference. I get that many or most don't give a shite. I wouldn't necessarily argue most. I was just basically sharing my
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah, look, I agree. Like if I'm quote unquote uh, slumming it, or I'm going to wear a watch that is purposefully not a watch that I really love. Yeah, I do like having quartz for that purpose. That being said, I I don't actually refer to my Seikos as shitters. Like not personally. We may say it in jest, but I actually do like the Seikos that I have, and I do enjoy when I wear them. So it
Hell yeah.
really isn't about their accuracy that is why I'm getting. And especially when I see another guy wearing a watch, I'm more likely to know that I'll have a nice conversation with someone who's wearing a Seiko versus someone who's wearing a Rolex.
Absolutely. I don't doubt it. I mean, if I ever 9 times out of 10, if I made any real connection, like a human connection with a random person out there in the wild through a wristwatch, it was either when that person was wearing a Seiko or when I was wearing a Seiko.
Mm-hmm.
Again, those are the limits of my world, right? Because I'm uh, at the entry level, I'm an exclusively Seiko guy, right? I don't dabble in Casio, Duro, G-Shock, etc. It's just not my thing.
Mm.
Um, but I can certainly say that when you see someone, and that was the case in the last decade, right? For most of it, anyways, that when you see someone wearing an SKX, you knew it was a watch guy, right? With Rolex, you have to see something like you have to see someone wearing a 1655. Like then you can say, "Oh, that guy is a watch collector," because that's not just any random Rolex. Or you
Yeah.
see someone wearing a double red Sea Dweller. You see someone wearing a Paul Newman Daytona. Although in that case, they will be also probably very douchey as well. But that's another conversation altogether. So with a certain segment of the watch, it's much harder to find guys who actually care so much about their watches as much as the average Seiko SKX wearer cares about his watch and all other wristwatches.
Yeah, I remember at the Moonswatch event in Las Vegas at launch. The most interesting guy I came across was there was a guy wearing Cartier. He was pretty cool. A blue Santos, so I got to admit. But the other guy was he had a Seiko bullhead that he'd put together himself. I mean, that was really cool. It's a unique watch to begin with.
Yeah. It's a pièce unique. It's something that's the beauty of the modern community too. You know what level of bespoke and rarefied auction house circuit you have to go to have a one of a kind watch, unless you mod your Seikos, right? So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic circle, honestly.
Yeah. And there's obviously like between factory and everything, and then you get all the way down to like, oh, here's like a sort of respected modder of watches. Like I think there's that something Geneve where they do like PVD'd Rolexes and stuff and skeletonized Daytonas. And then you got like local jeweler, bust down watches. And then there's yourself. I kind of feel like it's either factory or anything you've done yourself. These are the two acceptable extremes. Everything in the middle is terrible.
The one that you're talking about is, I think, Artisan de Genève.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
I'm not really sure if that's cool. Like it.
Mike David.
I like factory. I like when people have done it themselves. Everything in between is sort of like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm very. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with the Bamford watch departments, Mad Paris, Artisan de Genève. I don't know what to make with a lot of most those. Mark Omega, welcome to the channel. Mike David, welcome to you. Alan Gildo says Citizen Pro Master NY 0040. This guy is a citizen shill, man. Are you on the payroll, Alan? Will change your life. SKX killer. I'm telling you, folks. Big Meech says the Meech was a nasty, vicious panther when wearing Seikos. I think the Meech is always a nasty, vicious
It's
panther.
always vicious.
whatever he wears.
Committing social faux pas wherever he goes.
And Full On John says, first mechanical watch I've ever bought in May 2020 was an Orient Kamasu. At that point, the SKX had been discontinued. The next gen, Full On John, and was $300 plus. The Kamasu is incredible value. I had to buy two. Let's pull up the Orient Kamasu.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I've never heard of anyone claim this is the new SKX, but we've got two claims to that fame right now. We've got Citizen Pro Master NY 0040 and this Orient Kamasu.
Honestly, Orient Kamasu, I'm a fan. If I didn't already have two SKXs, and if I were entering, watch collecting around 2020 rather than 2010, 2015, I guess you can have 2 points of origin. 2029 was when I got my first Rolex, and 2015 was really when I started consuming videos on YouTube about watches. So that should explain it. Yeah, I like the aesthetics of this watch for sure.
Not a super big fan of that style end link, but I do like that it's got an oyster style bracelet.
Yeah.
For a diver.
And Alan's Citizen ProMaster NY0040.
JWD. Which Alpinist did you get?
Yeah, both look like actually a great replacement, and it says Zon, so I'm assuming there are at least some citizens out there with German day indicator, which could be a cool touch.
I'm kind of leaning towards the Citizen a little bit more because I like the non-applied indices, just the loom plots, as opposed to the other one, which looked like steel applied indices, which looked okay, but I think I'd rather this. I'm just spoiled with like the, you know, the indices on like a Rolex. I'm used to those. You know, if it's an applied indice, it looks pretty good. Otherwise, just go with paint on the dial.
Um, Was sind cookies? Please get out of my face. Jesus, man. I don't want to learn more about cookies. Just I want to decline. That's all. All right. Okay. Whatever. Speaking of bullheads, this double chronograph by Habring 2, the Austrian brand, Doppelfelix Chrono, they call it. It's a beautiful watch, and it's right under $10,000 for the kind of watch you get, which is literally a double chronograph. It's a pretty sweet deal as well. Trying to see if they include a view of the movement. They have two versions, one that has the additional pointer date module. So like, it points the dates like this at the chapter ring. Very legible too. And Felix is actually their line of watches that have their in-house movement. So
Damn it, I can't even remember. Sorry, you were bringing up like a complication there. It's like there's a lot of things you can do once you have a working ticking, second. You know what I mean? You put the divider, you get minutes. You put another divider, you get hours. You get day, date, and chrono. It's another thing you can do with the ticking second. I'm not a watchmaker, but I am a software engineer.
yeah,
I created a website which I thought, I always thought about like a watch that would only tell you one of the higher end complications, like what's the date? That's it. Like that's all it would tell you. And I thought, well, that's pretty naff for something that I could do in software, just the date. It's like that's all actually almost useful. I want something really useless. So I created a website that will tell you what millennium it is. And it would actually work. It wasn't just a static website, it would actually work.
Alan Gilda says Archie does a fantastic view on the Alpinists. Yeah, that's also a soul reading of a particular person in the community. So it kind of has a double purpose, like the double chronograph here. Jay with D says, my one and only Seiko is the Alpinist, and it's made me really appreciate the brand. And Full On John says the red dial one is so good. That was the Orient Kamasu.
I really want to know what JWD's Alpinist is. Which one?
Yeah, please share if you're still there, JWD. Um,
And Archie's review of the Alpinist is his best review. Whenever I want to have a laugh, I rewatch that. I really do. I enjoy that one the most. If there's any other Archie Explodes videos that are as good as that, you let me know, because that one's a good one.
that's certainly a high point, but I think the Pavel collection review. Let me see what it is. That's like more than just Archie explodes, because it's like he gets into fits of laughter about this guy's paid watch collection review.
Oh,
It's
please
called
share. I can't search it. I can't see what
right
search
here.
term I
I'm
need.
sharing the link. This is Archie Luxury, and the title is what is it? Paid watch review, absolute Scheider wristwatch collection.
Okay,
That's what it is.
I'll save that one for later.
Yeah, add it to the spank bank. It's a great one. 187 ICU says, which of the three GMTs will be the rarest? Rarest usually has a lot to do with being least desirable at the first run. I'm guessing the orange. I'm guessing it will be the orange.
Yeah, I'd say that too. I mean, the SKX actually had a variant that was orange, but no one ever talks about it. I can't remember what the number was. Like there's SK 007, 009, the Pepsi 13 with the sort of the mid size.
Mm-hmm.
There is an SKX that's actually orange like this, and it was like no one wanted it.
Yeah, I think the rarest will be the orange. So if you actually like the Seiko orange, again, this is an iconic dial color for Seiko, especially for their divers. Of course, this is not a diver watch. This is a Seiko 5 Sports. Doesn't even have the appropriate depth rating at this point. But then again, maybe that's not what you're looking for. Maybe it's just an aesthetic choice. But if you already like it, that will be the rarest, because it will be the one that's probably preferred the least in the first few runs.
I just want to respond here. So Jake Brooks is saying get date, open bracket, close bracket. But actually, so getting the which millennium it is sparked a lot of debate between me and my other engineering friends. It's really not that simple, basically, like because we had to confer about what the numbered millennium is. So, for example, we're in the 21st century right now, but it's literally the 22nd century in terms of what we're experiencing. So are we in the second millennium or the third millennium right now is what we had to debate. And the ISO standard, so the engineering specification said the millennium is 2, but not many of us felt that was correct. Lord, what's your opinion? What millennium is it? If someone asks you what millennium is it, what would you say? Or maybe you've taken toilet break there. But yeah, I couldn't figure it out. Like if I look at the ISO standard for what century is it, it actually returns 20. But in our parlance, we would say it's the 21st century. But the number is clearly, 2000/200/20. So, in my opinion, out of these, yeah, Rarest is going to be the orange. Which one's going to be the hardest to get? I think I personally don't like this sort of like Batman look / homage, but it's Figueroa's got a blue dial. clearly the Rolex Batman doesn't have the blue dial. But just for a little bit of pop and flair, I think most people are going to go for that blue. I wish they did something a little more of the hands. I think each one of them has a red GMT hand, and I think that that's a contrast color or something. They should have done something with that. Oh, they got the gray on the orange.
Yeah, I think they have like a charcoal gray that corresponds to the lower half of the bezel for the orange. I think with the black, I absolutely love the red. You know, people are already kind of triggered by the so-called Batman configuration of the blue. So if they actually went with the blue on the hand, they would have gone absolutely crazy. So I'm glad they kept the red on that one. But what color did you have in mind, for example, for this one?
I don't know. Like the choice of red feels lazy to me. I mean, it's just too much contrast of blue. So, but I honestly don't know. It should be a color, so they can't get away with just bare steel, I don't think. But I don't know. The choice of red just doesn't feel super right, and blue wouldn't be right either, just because it's got a blue dial. So I'm not sure. Maybe black. I don't know.
They could have done something like that. They could have done something like that, but yeah, I think maybe they didn't put so much thought into it. And like you said, not only would the blue make it kind of more of a clone than its own thing, it also doesn't really contrast with the dial, which is already blue. Of course, with Rolex, with GMT Master 2, black and blue, you have a black dial. So it's set off from that, the blue of the 24-hour hand. Yeah, I don't know. I think the red one is fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Big Meech, what 187 ICU says, I slept on the yellow SKX A35. SKX A35. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, in hindsight, it seems like, you know, it makes almost too much sense. But then again, I wouldn't have gone for this because it's just too much, that shade of yellow for me. I'm old enough to say, damn these kids with their boom boxes and 8-track tapes. 8-track Meech. Jay with these says, Big Meech, I don't think you're that old, mate. 8-track tapes were gone in the late 70s. Old man Meech, come back. Old man Meech, come back. Come back. Alan Gildo, Pelagos and Seiko had a love child there. And say what? Speak up, Grandpa can't hear so good. It was a joke. Don't forget to convert to UTC or from UTC. Yeah, it's too yellow. It's too yellow. But yeah, this is fascinating. Of course, you had a yellow and red reduced Speedmaster, obviously with an automatic movement, as a special edition for Michael Schumacher at some point. So, but even that yellow wasn't all that bright. I was thinking.
Could we do a poll?
Yes, of course. Please tell me.
I have to select a battery for my Duro. Do I go? Unfortunately, the Sony seems out of stock. I can either go Duracell or Energizer. Which one should I get? Which one do I risk my beautiful Duro movement on? If this thing leaks, I'm dead. I'll be out of $40, and also the love and attention that I put in putting that aftermarket bezel on.
Duracell or Energizer, you said?
Yeah, Duracell versus Energizer. Which one should go in your watch? Or Maxell? Yeah, Maxell.
Should I add that as a third option?
Yeah, why not? Maxell.
Let's ask the community.
See, batteries are a tough one. I'm not really sure at the low end of the market, like watch batteries, but there really aren't that many factories in the world, full stop, that make certain batteries. Like for like the high power stuff, the CR 123 or 18650 series type stuff, lithium ion. There's only like maybe like really 7. There's more than that, but like maybe 20 total different batteries. But certainly what goes to market is like 150 different batteries that actually go to market, but they come from 7 factories basically.
NATO has a very important point here. Duracell matches the name.
Ah, you got to put a Duracell in the Duro. Oh man, there's a few people who like the Energizer. I don't know. I'm a dad, so anything that mixes up the wordplay is almost a dad joke. Kind of helps.
Great.
So what's winning? We got some participation here. 7 votes.
Energizer, I think. So far, Energizer has 71% of the votes, 14 for Duracell, 14 for Maxell. And Big Meat says, I'm loyal to the pink bunny.
Ah.
And NATO says, just buy a twin pack of any brand.
Well, I mean, I don't want to open this thing up that often, like the extra longevity means I don't have to open it up for as long. That's a good thing. And there's no way, like some of these come in like 10 strips. I am gonna lose. Like I'll be dead before I use the 10th battery. There's no way I'm not losing it first. Actually, if the battery life is 4 years, 40 years, do I have 40 years left? Maybe I don't. I think that's beyond the average lifespan of men in this country.
You're staying. You made your final decision.
Yeah, I think I'll go the Duracell. The pun won it. The Energizer won the vote, but I'm a sucker for a dad joke.
Yeah, and the name matches, so why not?
But for double the money, I can get 10 Energizers instead of 2 Duracells.
The Duracell is more expensive.
It is per thing, so it's $5 to get 2 Duracells, or $5 something to get 5 Energizers. But like honestly, I'm probably just saving 50 cents if I go the Duracell, because I'll never use the 3rd battery out of the Energizer pack. I'll be lucky if I still have the 2nd Duracell lying around when this thing dies again.
Yeah. Once again, guys, this was the replacement battery for his Casio Duro, which actually stopped after about 4 years.
Yeah, just shy of 4 years. Like it's off by like maybe a month or 2. But who knows how long that was in an Amazon bucket waiting for someone to purchase it.
NATO says alternately you could replace what's actually in it. That's a great idea.
Let's go for a Seiko NH35 movement.
No, I mean, in the sense that, oh, sorry, Van Lux is very offended that I didn't pull up his comment. He says, Tim's shit. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to talk shit about a competitor, but if you so insist, I will repeat it. Yeah, Tim's shit.
Okay. Very enthusiastic.
And NATO says, well, what NATO meant, I think, was like, since that battery lasted you 4 years, maybe you should get that battery, whatever brand is in it now. That's what
I don't want to open it up without actually having a battery on hand. I'll find out. Like, I'll take a picture of it, and then that way, after I use up the 2 Duracells in 10 years, I'll find the original. But I think the OEM is actually Sony, but they're not in stock. There seem to be, like everything in life now, friggin' shortages or something. So I think the Sony is probably the original. That makes sense too. It's a Japanese company. I believe the Duro's. Is it Japanese? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the movement's Japanese.
Casio is Japanese, but I don't know if
it was made there. Yeah, it's plausible.
Like for like. Guys, we have just passed the 2 hours. We'll go for at least another hour. In the meantime, if you have been enjoying the show, if you have been learning from it, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're here every day with watch content, live stream at 7:30 Pacific Daylight Savings Time, 10:30 East Coast. And I also have other watch-related content, especially as watches cross with lifestyle on a daily basis. So stay tuned for that as well. In the meantime, spread the word, share the link on other platforms. It really helps me as I try to get to 1,000 subscribers. And ultimately, of course, the goal is to get the channel monetized. In the meantime, if you want to support the channel, if you want to encourage the work I'm doing in running these live streams, in creating new and original and exclusive content, you can always consider a PayPal contribution at lordhellespontv@gmail.com, lordhellespontv@gmail.com. Cash App also is available, $LHVVV, $LHVVV. In either case, guys, I'm really grateful for your support. And the information is in that crawling ticker and the video description. Thank you, Panther, for sharing that useful information with us.
Yeah, so this is a Cartier Panther that my Rolex AD got for my daughter for her first birthday, when she was born. So we had this in the hospital. But do you know the significance of a Cartier Panther having a taxi? It's so weird that it's paired with this. It's stitched to his paws. Yeah, that's official merch, and I don't know. It's so weird. The taxi. I don't know if it's a reference to New York or something. I really don't know. That'd be more of a Tiffany thing.
Big Meech says, Aussie, I will give you 3 batteries for that plushie. Sounds like Meech set his GMT hand to UTI.
UTI. It's unpleasant memories for anyone that's had one.
I thought Big Meech had other problems in the toilet, but I guess that's possible as well. 187 ICU asks for best leather strap for Seiko SNA 414.
Isn't that the quartz chronograph, the SNA 414? I'm not super familiar.
Let's pull it up. There we are.
Yeah. Whoa, in gold?
Is it? Does it have to be?
Is that the reference? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's in gold tone.
Wow.
I would go with something in dark brown. You know, like a dark brown leather. Maybe you can go with a lighter shade of brown in calf skin, like something like look, actually, I might know the perfect one for this. Here we go. This is like a hybrid strap made by Hirsch, the Austrian leather company. They have
It's
all
like
sorts of
80%
different.
of the watch's cost, man.
Yeah, but look,
Is it?
just
I don't know.
no. Just get the regular buckle. I think that had a deployment clasp, so that added a lot. It's right under $100. Okay, it's a lot of money, but here's the cool thing. This fits the flight theme. Let's just say this is the style of the strap, right? Get
He
something
needs
like
the
that.
gold buckle.
Yeah, but even that is not at an extra
Yeah.
charge. So
Yeah,
you
that's
get the
fine.
gold tone buckle. You get something maybe in this medium shade of brown, not too dark, not too light. Contrast stitching, so kind of accentuates the sporty vibe. Fits with the gold tone. Take the gold toned buckle, which you can see right here. And the cool thing about this strap, again, right under $200, it goes with all these different widths. I don't know what width that watch is. This is hybrid, so it has actually rubber as the lining. So it will be great for nasty, humid, hot weather as well. So but let's check to see if it says anything about lug width here. But our friend would probably know what it is anyway, so maybe he can remind us. 21. Okay, so Hirsch actually, that particular option has a 21, has an option of the long gold buckle or gold plated buckle at no extra charge. You can get it either in medium size if you have small wrists like me, or long if you have a proper man's wrist, and you can get it at 21. You're still at right under 100, which I understand is basically half the tag price of the watch. But hey, there's nothing wrong with investing some money on a leather strap, on a nice quality leather strap that would get you the look you want.
Yeah, well, I agree, especially on the gold Seikos. I think the gold Seiko watch heads, they all look reasonably good, but the bracelet, no, not at all. So getting something not gold onto that watch will make it look better. So
Al asks, Lord and Oz, do you guys know if the new Seiko 5 GMT has a screw down crown? Unfortunately, it's more like a Seiko 5 than an SKX in that case. So it still has 10 bars of depth rating, no screw down crown. Messaging says no screw down crown as well. Big Meech is talking about stool softeners. Interesting. And Messaging Matters suggests that he eats some fig Newtons. Man. Hey, good suggestion. Paul Newman's Own has their own brand of it, and it's great, and all of the money goes to charity.
Talking about not kids snacks, why don't Americans have ginger snaps? Like ginger snaps are my favorite cookie for having alongside tea or biscuit. I guess, well, American wouldn't say biscuit either, so I don't know, cookie. And I cannot find ginger snaps in America. It's ridiculous.
Is that right? I haven't gone after them, so I don't know. They're not really my favorite cookies. Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good with tea. Like they offer, a nice contrast, not just sweetness. You get, this nice punch of ginger, but Americans, it's all chocolate chips with you guys. You get 1,500 different brands of chocolate chip cookies and Oreos and yucky stuff with like fake sugars in them.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Oreos have, I mean, multiplied in variety ever since I came to this country. Like there were already like double stuffs, and around Halloween you would get like an orange stuffing. There were a few other options, but I think in the last decade and a half, it's just I stopped keeping track of it. Alan Gildo says, I've tried Cafe Bustelo and you survived. Let's see what these biscuits are like, the ginger snaps. Let's see if Aussie's recommendation sticks. Let's see if we can find let's see if we can find them on Amazon, so I can post an associate's link. And
I tried from Amazon Grocery, but maybe the only opportunity is like Amazon proper. And then pay a fortune for them.
Amazon's Choice, guys. Amazon's Choice. I found it. There you go.
Oh, 365 has them. Okay, Whole Foods only.
There you go.
That's a bit high end for me.
click this link, and not only can you get Aussie's recommendation, ginger snaps, you'll also be putting some money in LHV's pocket. How about that? Stauffer's ginger snaps, quality since 1871.
Trader Joe's has ginger snaps.
Trader Joe's has everything. They now have a vegan version of their brioche bread. So it's a brave new world. It's a brave new world. It's an exciting time to be alive. Big Meat says, here in America, we like our sweets like we like our frames large and diabetic. Interesting.
What's your favorite biscuit, Lord? Alexa, turn on dining. Alexa, turn on dining.
My favorites, unfortunately, I can't eat them anymore. But these Walter's butter cookies, like the Scottish butter cookies. Do you know these?
Yeah.
Love them. Walker's, I think, right? The Walker's shortbread cookies.
Yeah, shortbread.
Yeah. Walker's. Those are great. I miss them, man. I should break this vegan diet one day. And Alan Gildo says $50 Canadian. What's in these ginger snaps? And 187 ICU says, I've never used it on the gold bracelet. It's on an army green NATO. I think green and gold is a great contrast too. So if you really want to be a little more adventurous, you can go with a leather strap that's colored in a dark green. Why not? But I think, since it's like since it has the dial layout of a Fliegerchrono, like a pilot's chronograph, I think just choosing something in calfskin leather, maybe even black, but in like a lighter shade of brown, not too light, not too dark, I think that would be great. It would kind of enhance the aviation related aesthetic a little bit. And Big Meat says favorite biscuit, gotta be KFC with honey glaze, or no, Fike Popeyes. Oh, he means the
No,
American.
it's got to be Red Lobster. They cheat. They got cheese in there. Red Lobster biscuits. Come on.
And Phoenician Cedar says Tim Tams, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, hey, actually, I have given my AD Tim Tams. It's a more thoughtful gift, right? So if you come from a certain background or something, and you can offer that as a gift, that's a thoughtful gift. So that was one of the ones that we did, Tim Tams.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of. I wish you told this to Archie.
And then his David SW goes, "Don't bring your AD Tim Tams." But the Tim Tams one is a nice one, like, because one, they're not that expensive, but they're definitely unique. The only thing is you have to be Australian to pull off that shtick. You can't just go, "Hey, have some Tim Tams."
Or you can always bake your own cookies.
Well, I want to know Lord's hookup. Like, he's gotten very good luck with his Rolex dealer, and he has some very, very special individually wrapped cookies.
I might, yeah. Alan says, I doubt my AD will want samosas. Yeah, when they're in season, so to speak, everyone eats these Girl Scout cookies. It's like I'm all for women's empowerment, but who's gonna pay these insurance premiums, man? People are
Samosas? Yeah.
diabetes.
Well, samosas are that's a savory pastry. But I'm just I don't know Alan's background. I didn't expect samosas from him.
Oh no, I think he means the kind of Girl Scout cookies with that. Or is there a Canadian pastry that's savory that's called samosas? I might be confused. Alan,
No,
please
samosas
elaborate.
are in India, an Indian pastry. They're Asian.
Oh, you mean the yeah, you
They're like
mean
these
the huge
puff
dumplings.
triangle things.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
triangles. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, okay. I love the samosas. I thought I got confused with the Samoas. That's what the cookies are called. I think one kind of.
Yeah, every
direction.
now and then, my only baking I go out of my way with that thing is to make Australian meat pies. It's the only thing they'll bother making. I did give my AD a meat pie. It's awkward because it's like a pastry with a gravy filling, so if it breaks, it goes everywhere. So it's not very appropriate. But quite frankly, I'll give meat pies to anyone that I'm in loose contact with. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Van Lux. I think samosas come in all kinds of different fillings or stuffings, right? It doesn't have to be just potato, although those are the ones I really like, to be honest. I find them really filling.
I've
Very
never had a
delicious.
samosa other than the sort of curried potato filling, actually. But I'm not a big samosa person. I've never gone out of my way to get a samosa. It's normally at the Indian buffet.
Indian buffet is the best, man. I love a good Indian restaurant with a buffet. Um, Vegan Seeds of India is one place that I constantly get stuff from, and yeah, they just have they obviously just have the vegetable samosa, which is filled with potatoes and green peas. Um, but the fact that it's called veggie samosa makes me think that there has to be other kinds, but I might be wrong. Okay, yes, traditional is potatoes, but there is beef and chicken. All are good. I'm Indian. I know my ish. Hey, man, all respect. For me, I have to put it this way. Since I came to this country, since I get quite picky with North African and Middle Eastern food, I usually go to Indian food for comfort food because I don't know better, unlike you, Van Lux. So if I get halfway decent Indian food that's flavorful, that's affordable, I'm more than happy. So when I'm too lazy to cook for myself, that's what I order for takeout. And vegan Indian food, of course, has been a lifesaver for me. Oh my god. Big Me says my favorite meal is bubble and squeak. Perfect nursing home food. You muted yourself, Ozzy, just a second ago.
How does Meech know about bubble and squeak? Isn't that like a very particular Irish thing? Do you know what bubble and squeak is?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. Bubble and squeak is mashed potatoes and peas, maybe a different green fried up.
Mm,
I know because I'm half Irish, so I don't actually I don't know how. Is Meech? Are you half Irish? I don't.
possibly. Possibly. Who knows? Who knows? Van Lux has his dinner recommendation if you haven't gotten it yet, or maybe for lunch tomorrow. Butter chicken and shahi paneer. Dal makhni is great too. Chicken tikka and malai korma are also good-ish.
What's a Malay korma? I know korma the curry style, but I don't know what Malay is.
Let's pull it up. Oh yeah, it's Malai is, I think, here in reference to the balls that they have in it.
Hmm.
Guys, this may be a watch related channel, but when you have choice experts in the audience like Van Lux, we
Well,
also
we've been. This is with respect to what would you prepare from your own culture to bring to your Rolex AD. So we're talking
okay.
about a Malay korma here. Looks like it could be quite tricky to bring this in and enjoy immediately, but I'm sure it will be appreciated.
Honestly, yeah, I love my Indian food. So if I find a vegan version of this, I'll be lapping it all up with my naan. Rest assured, Van Lux. Um, Alan Gildo says, "You're speaking my language, Van Lux. Garlic naan with all the fixins." And NATO says, "Use garlic naan as pizza basis if you really want to live a little." And Venlak says, "Ooh, that's my ish too." And Palak Paneer. Palak Paneer is also one of my favorites, but again, not something that I've had for a while now.
And this food talk is going to make me have a midnight snack. I normally don't eat after 8 p.m.
Me too, but
Looking
I think
good.
I will eat this time because I'm starving anyways. So Big Meat says Mike the Snake would offer.
Oh, sorry, I just got that picture properly in my head now. I didn't just read. I had to like. It was he's handing over TV. I tried a couple of the TV dinners that the gentleman a few weeks ago recommended. They were horrible. I can't remember. I'll have to look up my Amazon thing which ones I purchased. Like I do not recommend them. They were not good.
Oh, Van Lux, great point. And when I was just vegetarian, Indian foods was basically what I went for all the time. But since I'm vegan now, a lot of that stuff that has cream, some version of paneer, and honestly, most Indian restaurants that cook with the, what is that condensed butter called?
Ghee.
Ghee, yes. So it's since a lot of, so unless it's expressly advertised as a vegan restaurant, or it's marked on the menu as a vegan dish, vegan option, I just don't eat it, since I keep a strictly vegan diet. So it is what it is. And NATO says, to legitimate this conversation further, 6 minutes in the tandoor requires a timing Bezel. Oh no worries, man. I'm just trying to clarify. Ghee, yes. No worries. Man, this is really making me hungry. So, with all due respect,
Yeah, it's looking really good.
I'll switch. He says it's looking really good and turns turns to the roommate and asks for snacks, I think. Well, you are in the kitchen. Fix yourself up something.
I have to fix my son up his chocolate milk. He demands what he demands, he gets. Otherwise, he's uncontrollable. Does he eat the Twinkies? He doesn't eat Twinkies. I bought him Twinkies. I've got 3 boxes full of them, and he's not eating them. They're meant to be for his lunches.
Nice luxury lunch. Man, that explains, by the way, how hyped up he gets at this time of the day. If you have Twinkies for lunch.
No, I mean, this is just like straight sugar. He demands this constantly. So
Ghee is butter with the milk solids removed, so it's semi-vegan. Good point, Dado.
Semi-vegan. It's just the water. It's just the water.
Clarify like the butter. Ghee. LOL. And Meech says, what's even more funny is Mike the Snake wouldn't even cook the dinner. It would still.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't deliver a cooked frozen dinner, I don't think. I mean, everyone's got a microwave, surely.
Yeah, I think that
being
could
practical.
be. Yeah. Bezel is back, by the way. Welcome back to the channel, man. Well, I like these Hungry Man meals.
That's right. I think I had a Hungry Man meal, and it was really flavorless. It was kind of awful.
Hey, I mean, it's what it is. It's what you have to do in a pinch sometimes. I understand. I understand. I mean, but as long as it's not an entire lifestyle of TV
Yeah,
dinners,
sure. I tell you what my absolute guilty pleasure is right now,
yes,
mac
please.
and cheese, but this one. Look at the color of that,
Ooh.
the flavored hot.
Are you sure you just put those flavored liquids in your vape? Uh, is there anything else involved?
It's so silly too, because normally I'll just make normal mac and cheese and then have sriracha. You got some quality chili garlic sauce in there. But that thing, they upcharge you 20 cents, and you can have some substandard powdered chili flavor that'll also turn the whole thing red.
Can I also add another important point to that? You don't have the usual problem of hot Cheetos fingers. You can get
Mm.
your hot Cheetos in this delicious form of mac and cheese, and you can actually eat it with your fork.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure. I just love how toxic it looks. It's hilarious. It's sort of the Mountain Dew of macaroni and cheese, I guess.
And Nato says he would wrap it in foil, the Hungry Man meal, and stick it on his Beamer engine. And Big Me says, still waiting for Mike the Snake to power rank his top 12. Jesus, man. I mean, like, look,
Where's
look,
Mike been,
look at
by the
my
way? I haven't
face.
seen Mike on the channels.
I've been laughing quite a bit, so I'm guilty of it too. But the guy is not even here, and he has significantly minimized his time in the community because of all the trolling. So let's tune it down for a little bit. As much as I enjoy a good Mike the Snake joke myself, with all due respect, um, co-hosted with Green Room and any ganja in there. Van Lex says, and Phoenician Cedar. Come over to my place in Sydney one day. Hey, my friend, that's why I love here a good, a very sizable portion of the Armenian communities is from Lebanon here in Southern California. So a lot of the great Middle Eastern restaurants are operated by Armenians from Lebanon. And there's also in Anaheim, we have a Little Arabia, which has a lot of different Arab communities from the Levant and beyond. A lot of Palestinians, Lebanese, and others. So there's great Lebanese food, and if I ever come to Sydney, it would be an honor for me to visit your place. He says, I'll fix you up with vegan Lebanese food, hummus, baba ganoush, mujaddara. I had the time of my life. I had the time of my life when I was in Lebanon, by the way. So it's genuinely a very generous offer, and I appreciate it, Phoenician. Van Lux says, Lord's high AF. That's why he's laughing. I can neither confirm nor deny that. Yes, in California, actually, for recreational purposes, for medical, it's been legal for the longest time. For recreational purposes, I think it's been already 4 years, maybe a little more. And NATO says ganja butter, coincidentally, is also semi-vegan. There's actually a very good brand, California-based brand, as it happens, called Miyoko's. Miyoko's makes great vegan butter. And I very rarely use butter in my cooking anyways. I'm from the Mediterranean, so I just use olive oil for just about anything and everything. But when I do need to use butter, I usually use Miyoko's. That goes, and they get it right for the most part. Yeah, it's not legal federally in the US, so which gives rise
Thankfully,
to
there
the
are
thing.
no federal police.
Yes, but this is what it gives rise to, Aussie. You have to pay in cash or with a debit card, because
They're not
credit
banked.
card does
Yeah.
have federal regulations, so it does have some effect at the state level as well, because you can't make any purchases with credit cards, and the taxes are excessive. So I'm not really hoping for federal legalization, honestly, because I'm sure that would add yet another layer of extra
Mhm.
tax on it.
Yeah. Not to get too deep on it, but when they first started talking about legalizing it for recreation, um, I was all in favor. But so many of the people would say, "Yes, legalize it and tax it," and I'm like, "Wait, what? Why? like, can we just settle that this is not, you know, like not terrible? Can we just not introduce a different kind of harm, like a sin tax, just because you don't like marijuana? Like, why should you tax it heavily? Is there something
It's not
special?"
even that at this point. It's just they have gotten used to skinning people alive for simple pleasures that may or may not be detrimental to your own health, first and foremost, right? Like cigarettes, cigars, alcohol. So it's just, hey, let's apply this wholesale onto this new realm of revenue. um
Yeah.
that one
But I
part is
mean,
that.
these were like marijuana advocates, sort of doing it like that. I think they added the
Are they?
tax.
Are they?
Well, yeah, I think they're adding the tax as a sort of a way to convince people who would be convinced by taxing things. I'm just like, come on, man, just win the fight and don't give up on the first outing. Like,
Can I
why should it
say
be taxed special?
something about that? Look, I mean, I don't want to indulge in too many conspiracy theories, but honestly, when it comes to advocates and lobbyists for anything at all, when they make certain kinds of public statements, I can never trust them, because I don't exactly know what they are working for. And you can potentially, in like registered lobbyists, you can track down exactly who funds them. But just a talking head online, you'll never know whose interests they are protecting. Um, so it can be all sorts of different plans, no pun intended, to
Hmm.
basically advance the government's tax agenda.
Hmm.
Big Meat says, would you ever buy Ron Jeremy's butter? I actually saw Ron Jeremy 3 times in the same place over the course of like a single month. Uh, I still frequent that place. There's no Ron Jeremy sighting since the onset of the pandemic. So I'm kind
I
of bummed.
didn't he
But
get into trouble recently, actually?
I mean, he's a porn star. What do you think?
No, no, I think he actually got into trouble with the law recently.
He did?
I'm a big fan of the old hedgehog.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of trouble. I don't know. Um, Guys, we're in the last stretch. So if you have just joined us, please hit that like button. It's free, doesn't cost anything. And it's actually a lot of support for me. It helps me gain a little more exposure as I'm trying to make my way to 1,000 subscribers and get this channel monetized. And we're here with watch content on a daily basis. I run these live streams every day, starting at 7:30 Pacific Daylight, 10:30 on the East Coast. I also produce other watch-related content, especially at the crossroads of watches and lifestyle. Every other day, I talk about new releases as well. I'm gonna make a video on the Seiko GMTs tomorrow, for example. In either case, if you want to support me, if you want to encourage this kind of work, um, before I get monetized, you can always consider a PayPal contribution, and that is at lordhellespontv@gmail.com, lordhellespontv@gmail.com. I also have a Cash App, $LHVVV, $LHVVV. The information is crawling there in the ticker and is available in the video description. Wow, LA Times, case against Ron Jeremy suspended after lawyer questions porn star's mental health. Jeez. Okay, this is some heavy stuff. Maybe not get into it. But yeah, Ron Jeremy, I guess, left an important body of work that will be judged on its own standards. Unmute.
He didn't make it into the digital era, so he will not be immortal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I think people still rip older. I'm not sure if he benefits from them in any way. Actually, I'm sure that he doesn't. But in terms of exposure, people do sometimes pirate vintage stuff and post it on these platforms. So he will still be remembered. So how is the watch hunt going? You got your Explorer 2 very recently. You're still on the honeymoon with that?
Yeah. I'm wearing it constantly. Haven't switched out for any other watch. Yeah, I really like it. It really finished the collection, to be honest. And I've been talking in the Discord, like I don't know what to do next. I'm kind of, with a working relationship, you want to strike while the iron is hot, but at the same time, with the whole market correction and stuff like that, I'm kind of out of budget. Like I could literally afford it, but it would throw like my portfolio out of whack. As in, I really don't like having a certain percentage of your net worth carried in non-liquid stuff. I don't really know what to do. I've been really thinking about it. Like the Daytona would go over the mark, and is that the right watch to go over the mark with? I don't know.
Right, and the Daytona that we're talking about is the one you were seeking precious metal on Oyster Flex. And which one specifically? I don't think I've ever heard
probably
from you.
Sundust dial. Out of all of the dials, the metal ones really I like a lot. All the ones that are metal. But
and which metal exactly?
Everose.
Okay.
I think O'Sheen got one. I think OC also got the Everose on Oyster Flex with Sundust as well.
With the baguette diamonds, in fact, right?
Yes, he got the baguette diamond. I don't want the diamonds, but would I say no? I probably would say no. Like I don't want the diamonds. I just it's fine. It's the closest to, like, if they were truly hard to get, I would accept the diamonds, but I don't think they're extreme. They're not easy. They're more rare than steel Daytonas, that's for sure. But I'd be settled.
This is the one OC got. I really love it, but I don't know why they didn't do the outer rings of the subdials in black as well. I think it would be great. Also echo nicely with the ceramic bezel too.
Yeah.
I think I would love, if I were seeking one of them, I think I would love this one, the John Player Special.
JPS. Yeah. Yeah, the thing that I'm thinking about is like if I'm going over my, portfolio balance to get into this next piece or next pieces, I really do have to think about the value a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And like if it's going to be offsetting opportunities on the stock market, which it will, I'm very concerned about the value of these watches, to be honest. Like prior to COVID, the gold stuff was not sought after. You could
Mm-hmm.
buy a gold Daytona and everyone snicker at you because like, oh, you couldn't get your hands on the steel, huh? Basically. Now
Right.
people probably weren't really doing that, but that is the implication. You got the gold because you couldn't get the steel. And these are currently fetching a large premium, meaning I'd have to buy something soft to be able to get it. So I wouldn't be just in it for the value, the MSRP on the
Mm-hmm.
Daytona. I'd also have like a Cartier Santos, which I would love. But I don't know if that really makes much financial sense. I suspect within 6 to 12 months, these gold Daytonas will be available for anyone that asks again. I don't know if
Really?
that's
You're
crazy,
that
but
optimistic?
no, I want it before January, so I've got a timeline for it. So I'll probably get it while it still is a premium, but medium term to long term, these things may not have a premium. Because they didn't in 2019. It's just this COVID thing where people get free money from PPE loans. That it was like, oh, gold Daytonas, why not? Gold day dates, why not? Platinum Daytona, why not? Like the platinum was at a discount, right?
Alan Gildo says 2 more releases from Chuda this year. Apparently, you'll be inspired, Aussie.
Oh,
Where
don't do
where'd you
that.
hear that from? By the way, Alan. I did hear vaguely that Tudor will have
It's what
year-round
they did last year.
releases. Yeah.
I mean, the FXD was an quote unquote off calendar release, and the was the Black Bay Ceramic also an off calendar release, or was that available after Watches and Wonders? I think they had 2 off calendar releases last year.
GB Vol, welcome back to the channel, man. It's nice to see you.
What are you agreeing with, GB Vol? Just so I know, like. I haven't talked to many people that are willing to admit that that precious metal Daytonas and other precious metal Rolexes were not that hot in 2019. I mean, I think it's a simple fact, but I
It
wasn't
is a
super into it as
look.
far
I
as
mean, okay. Let's put it this way. You have that silly Talking Watches 2 video. I think that's the Talking Watches 2 video with John Mayer, right?
Okay.
And he holds up his John Mayer Daytona, the green dial full gold one, and he says something like, this will, in hindsight, this will seem purely obvious. And of course, look, I mean, the whole thing is a little manipulative, right? You have a genuine rock star, not like a third-rate failed musician like some in the community, who talks on one of the most successful platforms online and their kind of flagship program about a certain watch, saying this will be hyped up in the future. Of course, he's participating in hyping it up. Never mind.
Yeah.
But this is from March 2019. I'm trying to find just that scene.
But wasn't the first time he talked about it, it actually still wasn't hot at all at that time?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. So
And even by 2020, I remember the premium was about 70,000. Like the price was about 70,000 on Grab.
Yes.
Hey,
Welcome
what's
back,
up?
brother. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, guys, this is Talking Watches 2 with John Mayer. It was March 2019, and he was basically talking about what is now called the John Mayer Daytona. Where is it? Saying that, like, you know, it's green, it's Rolex, it will be hyped up in the future and will be hugely collectible, but right now no one wants it. Of course, in the background, I missed my spot. Jesus. But anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. And even after that, for a while, it did not have quite the hype. It was still going under retail, that particular model at least. I can't say that about every single precious metal Daytona because I wasn't really following the trends at that time. But yes, up until 2019, most precious metal Daytonas were still going under retail. Not to say significantly under retail, because Daytona in whatever shape or form was always a hot watch. But was it this hyped up? No, not really. Not before the pandemic. And just so you guys know that I'm a genuine hater, I actually put a dislike on this video previously, so you can let the record show.
Yeah, because a dinky is for snobs.
So Van Lux says they weren't that hot, but it's not going to go back to the way it was. I'm kind of siding with Van Lux on this one. I don't think it's going to go back exactly to how it was, where you could easily walk into an AD and not only get a precious metal Rolex, except for whatever gold Daytona people were desiring at that time, but you could actually ask for a 20% discount, and usually they would accept something like that. I don't think it's going to go back to that anytime soon. I can't say it will never, but not anytime soon.
Honestly, I think I personally think things will go back to 2019, basically.
Okay.
As they were in 2019, like pre-COVID, pre-free money.
Big Me says Tudor is gonna shout out another black paint no one wants. Alan Gildo says, hopefully with a red bezel to match the mess you left in your bathroom tiles. And Van Lux says the gold pieces were always undervalued. That's another perspective, right? You can say now that they are overhyped, and I agree, but maybe they were in fact undervalued, and maybe they will kind of settle at around or right below retail at some point soon. Big Meat says, "Spike me dead, Alan." Alan loves the gold rainbow Daytonas, and I'm not even gay. Hey, we love straight men, Alan. There's no problem. You're more than welcome here. Ellen Gildo says both these Daytonas on the screen are beautiful, green and blue dial. I'll be happy with either. I think the real bee's knees is really white gold with that blue dial. I love that combo. What do you think? Do you have any hots for precious metal Daytonas at all, or any Daytonas whatsoever?
Well, in a perfect world, I would love a pre-ceramic Daytona. Preferably a black dial one, but not that much. The only chronograph I really like is the Speedy.
Is the Speedy?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on the watch market? Like, obviously we're sliding backwards. How backwards do you think? I'm saying 2019. So the prices and everything you saw in 2019, watches were in the case. Not all of them, but some.
You asking me or Lord?
No, you. I talked too much already.
Oh,
So.
I'm sorry. To be honest, I'll be honest. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know about the watch market. I have no idea, so I don't want to speak, bullshit. But I guess that it makes sense that it's like, it goes together with if there's a recession, then the watch market will crash, and if there's a better financial times, it will rise. So, yeah, that's what I can give you.
Yeah. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's like, I think saying like, no, it's completely disconnected. It's on the moon.
I think Occam's razor, right? Sometimes the simplest explanations are simply correct. In this case, I will add one caveat. Certain aspects, certain parts of the watch market are so rarefied, and it's the kind of avenue where people play with big money carelessly, and in a way, the kind of money they can't use on anything else, and they want to really park in some way with a certain sleight of hand. So in the rarefied world of luxury, there are so many moving parts that certain moving parts of that market, like Daytonas, which have been since the 2000s one of the most desirable sports watches on the market, they can kind of have a life of their own as a market. But the watch market, by and large, if everything else suffers, of course it will suffer as well. If everything else takes a dip, of course it will take a dip. And Aussie keeps reminding us, and it's a helpful reminder, of how the PPE loans played a certain part in artificially expanding the markets with careless purchases all over the place, and those are now being returned or being offloaded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the fact that so much was debt, eventually you get a margin call, right? Well, actually, the PPE loans were given away for free and then forgiven. So it's atrocious what's happened.
User unknown has two nice comments. Not a fan of Hodinkee nor John Mayer. Neither one has done anything productive for watches, only hype. I completely agree on the second one, even though, again, I do appreciate him as a musician. For Hodinkee always has had, since its beginning, at least part of its content that's very informative. That's a deep dive, like the reference points videos, for example, where they sit down with experts and go through various iterations of the same model over the years, with the, showing you different marks and everything. I think that's great content, and you have those kinds of people like Eric Wind, like Jack Forster, like other industry experts who write for their particular niche on Hodinkee once every so often, and that can still be great. But Hodinkee, at the end of the day, has become just another magazine, and when you pick up a magazine on any given topic, you're basically reading advertisements and advertorials with some objective and informative editorial sprinkled in. And that's what Hodinkee has become. Hodinkee is now the advertising arm of LVMH and some others. And then there's some helpful and useful information if you look for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta read one of these to my son so I can get him to bed.
Right.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Happy belated Father's Day, Ozzy. It was nice to see you today.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it. Much love to Junior and rest of the family. Thank you.
I'll be looking up a samosa recipe. I'll be cooking until 1 a.m.
I'm also very hungry, so I will leave soon too, I think. Alan Gilda says, if I time it right, I can get a rainbow Daytona. Take care, Ozzy. User Unknown says, watch market is driven by personality faults of men. It's harsh, but in a way, it's true. And I can even see certain parts of myself in that statement and condemnation. Men tend to be more hedonistic, thus prone to things like gambling. AD games are no different than gambling. Gamblers helplessly show up at the casino, hoping to make it big. Sound familiar to those that go to an AD every week? Harsh. It's all a big game, and no surprise, men are the ones hooked on watches. Watches and feeding into the hype activates the same part of the brain as gambling. Oof, that was that was deep and harsh, and even more difficult to read because we can certain ones of us at least can hear or read in it parts of ourselves. So no doubt. Great
Yeah.
great commentary.
So you talked about cheap watches earlier.
Oh, I talk about cheap watches all the time in
So I
in this
want to share
channel,
with you.
of
I
course.
want to share this watch. You know it?
This is the Casio Duro, right?
The Bill Gates. Yeah, it doesn't have the two-tone, but yeah.
Right. We started talking about it specifically because Aussies stopped, and I didn't even know of the existence of that watch before
Oh.
today's show. Because when you say Casio,
Mhm.
I just think of watches with digital displays, electronic digital displays. So I was completely
Yeah.
ignorant. So I was educated. Um,
Yeah, so it's just a nice watch that I bought out of boredom like long ago, and I just put it on earlier, and I'm really enjoying it. $50, you know?
yeah, and it has the great aesthetics of the diver. It is actually, I think, ISO certified as well, right? 200 meters.
I mean, it has a screw down crown, so it's 200 meters, water resistant.
Yeah, I mean, certification be damned, it has the specs, right?
Yeah,
It
it
has the
has the specs.
certificate.
Yeah.
RJ says, if you really break it down, watches are men's jewelry. 100%. Generally speaking, women like their bags. Well, Archie likes bags too. What do you say about that? Bracelets, rings, necklaces, and men, watches, and cars. Some love the style and timepieces, and some function. And user unknown says, agreed. Mm. Yeah, we started talking about a little further about Seiko 5 GMTs and
Hmm.
reminisced a little bit about the SKX series and the
Hmm.
kind of simplicity, durability, reliability, and accessibility that they somehow embodied. And in a
Hmm.
way, the 2010s have been defined, at least on Watch YouTube and beyond, for the hobbyist community, with that diver's watch craze, right? And Seiko
Hmm.
had a big part in that because all these independents at the time were either non-existent or were still on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, SKX is the ultimate, beginner's watch.
Yeah. And you're a diver watch guy, so the fact that
Yeah.
you agree with that is it's kind of the mother of it all.
Oh yeah, I am lusting for that 14060 now. I just wanna get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Good. And it's going to be, in a way, part exchange kind of thing, right? You know, you are getting rid of your GMT Master 2 16710 and getting
Exactly.
a one.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference, right? Like, are you looking for one for 06M? You're looking for a 2-liner or 4-liner, holes case, no holes case?
2-liner, no holes case from the early 2000s.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. That's a good aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you will have the solid end link bracelets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want no holes case, right?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I can replace straps, but usually I'm a bracelet guy. You know,
So
the
you
oyster
prefer
bracelet
that
is great.
clean. You prefer that clean look in that case, huh?
Exactly.
Since you're gonna keep it on bracelet, you would rather have the no holes case.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to find one so we can. When do the holes case stop? 01 already, or does it go a little further into the new
Mm,
century?
I can't tell you for sure, but I think it's around 01, 00, maybe 99, even something like that.
For whatever reason, whatever I pull up ends up being a holes case. So not my best moment here. I give up. I will just pull up one with a holes case for now, just so people have the general idea. Since we're speaking in code, this is 14060, 2-liner, no date sub, the last no date sub before the ceramic bezel. My friend, this wants the version that's slightly later than this, slightly younger than this, which has a no holes case, so smooth on these flanks. Of course, the bracelet can still be taken off even with those, but again, it gives it a more clean look when it is on the bracelet or when it's not.
Yeah.
For me, again, it's whether you take the bracelet out or not, it's just a little detail that reminds me that this is, you know, quote unquote, a tool watch. Right? It's like it's modular. You know, you can change things up. So even when you don't, it's something that's there. You know, even when you don't pop out the bracelet, you know that you could, and it just takes a toothpick, you know. So Alan Gildo is taking off. Huh?
You got a troll in the chat. The troll.
All right, I got rid of him.
Yeah.
User unknowns. Alan, goodbye, man. Take care.
See ya.
Good night. User unknown says, would you ever trade 12710 BLRO for a 16710 BLRO, like the former, but very shiny, flashy, and big? I'll tell you my opinion first, and then this can go next. I have a I have a 16710 Coke that I acquired relatively recently, and I basically paid for it what I would pay for a current GMT Master 2, including tax out of the door. And I was like, I didn't look for this, but actually it was a pretty good condition and a full set. So I basically made that decision without a trade, right? You know, I wanted a GMT Master 2 in my collection, and my choice was pre-ceramic over the new generation, because again, to me, it's too shiny, too flashy, too big. I like the classical proportions. I like the old school Rolex look. No polished center links, none of that. It's not for me. So I went for the 5-digit reference. What say you this?
Well, my heart goes with the 5-digit, but if I'm not mistaken, the 12670, it's the new Pepsi on Jubilee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think objectively it's the better watch out of the two because it has a ceramic bezel, and it's has a better movement, I guess. Um, so if I had this watch, the one we just looked at, I wouldn't trade it for a 5-digit. But aesthetically, I do prefer the 5-digit. But I mean, if user unknown has this watch, I wouldn't trade it, unless he really doesn't like it or something. But I think it's a great watch.
Look, I mean, if you want to trade, especially if it's with a dealer, of course you come out pulling the short end of the stick when you are the one who wants to trade. So if you already own that particular watch, which is to say this one, and want to exchange it with a 5-digit, I would certainly not do it with a dealer, because they will get from you, quote unquote, the better watch, the more valuable watch, the watch that is worth more in the market, and they will unabashedly, without shame, ask money from you. If you can, if you really have your heart set on the 5-digit, and if you can find a friend with a watch in comparable condition, right, that you might be able to exchange as an even exchange, I can see doing that. Your heart is set on the 5-digit. Your friend wants the newer version. I think I would be open to a trade like that, but I wouldn't exchange the current version of the Pepsi with a dealer for a 5-digit, because they will try to get what is more financially valuable from you and still ask for money as well.
I think first I want to say that the one we're looking at right now, I don't like the oyster bracelet with the polished center link. It's way too blingy. It's like what I wanted to say is that the new Rolexes, these ones, they're more like jewelry than tool watches, and the 5-digit watches, the 5 digits are more like tool watches, So I prefer the tool watch, period.
Yeah.
But I mean, the new ones are better,
This Marathon Man special look, I appreciate it, right? Like a Pepsi GMT on a Jubilee. But again, in the 5-digit or even 4-digit days. And honestly, if for someone who likes the everyday wearability, a sense of robustness and reliability of the newer Rolex, 5-digit is actually a great compromise, because someone like user unknown or this, who finds the more recent Rolexes too blingy, too much, too jewelry-like, less tool-like, less sporty. 5-digit is a great trade-off. For a sub, it's a great trade-off. For a GMT Master 2, it's a great trade-off because you basically get the best of both worlds. You get a lot of the things that made Rolex what it is, which is respectable, reliable, sports-oriented tool watch of quality.
Mm-hmm.
But you also get, like around year 2000, you get a solid ant-link bracelet, which gives the watch a modern feeling of wear. You get Luminova functional luminous material on the dial, unlike tritium or, God forbid, radium, which will have already expired. Sorry, radium doesn't expire, actually. Radium just radiates, unfortunately. But tritium will have expired. You get also, of course, sapphire crystal, again, more durable, more wearable, more scratch resistant, which you may or may not like, right? I'm a huge fan of acrylic and the distortions it generates visually, but not all people are into that.
Yeah.
You get, the bezel action is a little more sturdy, more mechanical, more precise in 5 digits. So that's a plus if you're more modern oriented. Anyway, so 5-digit 16710 for the GMT Master, 14060 for No Date Submariner. These are great references for anyone who appreciates bits of Rolex's sports-oriented tool watch heritage and bits of its modern robustness and reliability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ozzy says, I couldn't get my Hulk bracelet on my Batgirl. No way to get it truly tool watch like. And User Unknown says, this nailed it. Definitely feels like jewelry. And he actually says that, I appreciate the comments too very much. Think I'll trade down plus cash to me. That would be a good deal. It's like a disco ball. Yeah, I mean, if he can sell it or trade it with cash in hand and the 5-digit back, that doesn't sound so bad as a deal.
Yeah, I mean, question is if there is a box and papers.
For the 5-digit?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer box and papers, but here in Israel, when you sell a Rolex without a box and papers, people give you the shits for it. They try to take you down on the price like massively. I don't know how it is in the States and other places.
It's a little different. People are a little more relaxed, but then again, it just expands your range of buyers. When you have box and papers, it appeals to everyone. No one will say keep the box and papers and give me a $500 discount.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
here too, if you have a full set, if you have at least the papers, you add value to the watch. No doubt about it. No question about it. But people don't try to knock down thousands of dollars just because it doesn't have papers, especially if you are otherwise trustworthy. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a dealer per se, but Ozzy says Explorer 2 is the first Rolex of mine that feels uncompromisingly like a tool watch.
Yeah. Even the new one, I agree. It does feel. I mean, they didn't feel one, but it looks very tool watchy. Although they went to 42 millimeters, I prefer the 40 millimeter.
Same, but I think I agree. This is a lot of people actually, well, sometimes at least I've encountered people complaining about the, non-rotatable stainless steel bezel. I just think, first of all, that it enhances the monochromatic utilitarian look of the watch, one, but and because also it's satin brushed, sandblasted finish, right?
Yeah.
But also it is now a part of your watch that will age in proportion to and as gracefully as the rest of your watch. It will patinate in the same way as the case patinates, as the bracelet patinates, and ages, and you have a consistently uh, aging and transforming watch that becomes your watch with every passing day. So
Mhm.
I have nothing against that. I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
Ozzy says, I'm still shocked that people care about the box and papers beyond extra proof it wasn't stolen. I mean, I have seen actually watches that were stolen, box and papers, like directly from Rolex or something, but I've had cases, heard of cases where people had watches confiscated that they bought with boxes and papers before they were stolen. And Aussie says both are good, 40 and 42. Yeah,
Yeah.
Aussie actually likes both 16570, and he just got himself 226570,
Oh,
226570.
congratulations.
Yeah, wear it in good health once again, Aussie. There we go. And Big Meech is saying, I'm having wet dreams over the Explorer 2. I lose sleep over Explorer 2.
So why don't you get one, Big Mitch? Why don't you get one?
Yeah, it's a beautiful watch. Love it. I'll put it
Yeah.
back on the bracelet as I look at this.
These were like, I think 2 years ago they were like they weren't so popular, and then something happened and they skyrocketed in prices.
I like to think, although I have no way of confirming this, that Archie's madness about Polar Explorer 2 and Speedmaster had something to do with this, because at some point he was constantly ranting about how Explorer 2 is the best sports watch. You
Hmm.
remember those days at all?
Yeah, he had one and he was talking about it a lot. Yeah.
Disproportionately.
Huh.
The leads this year, the leads, bring them to me, man. Big drama, Ray, Ocean, and Baggins. Yeah, man, let the devil sort them out, as they say in good old American English. Full on John says, this gives me black, black, black GMT vibe.
I mean, I could put a black bezel insert on my Pepsi, right? I could.
Yeah,
Then it would look like a Submariner.
yeah, yeah. And you're a little, you're you're right, actually, because the ceramic black, black, black does have a unique look. It's kind of its own thing.
Hmm.
And the 5 digits with the black bezel, it's really the 5-digit GMT master with the black bezel really just looks like another Rolex watch. Like, it could be easily mistaken, at least, unless you get close, for a date Submariner, right? Submariner date.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And Aussie says, even though they are not as much of a steal as they used to be, he says 16570 in black or polar, by the way, is still the best deal. And I agree. 5 digits Explorer 2 is still the best deal on the market. And the polar is trending a little upwards compared to the black dial. So for for that, black might be the way to go. Although the polar one is really special, and everyone here already knows how much I love it because it's also part of, very distinctly part of the Rolex exploration heritage as well. Where is that little ad? Yeah. Big Meat says, cause most of the vintage ones I find out shot and nasty garbage. Speaking of which, we will end shortly. So guys, please, if you have enjoyed the content and if you have learned something from it, please upvote. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really helps me to increase exposure. And my first major goal is reaching 1,000 subscribers and getting monetized on YouTube. So any help you can give me for doing that is invaluable. So spread the word, share the link on other platforms, tell all your friends. That would be great. In either case, thank you for being here and thank you for your support. Until I get monetized, if you want to support the channel, if you want to encourage the work I do in creating original and exclusive content, please consider a PayPal donation at lordhellespontv@gmail.com, lordhellespontv@gmail.com. I also have a Cash App, and that's at $LHVVV, $LHVVV. And Big Meat operates, by the way, just like Mike the Snake. And he thinks that the only place he can buy vintage watches from is his local jeweler. So, and he complains about the condition. Then he complains about the lack of selection. I mean, this is not the 70s, Meech. You can't work everything out through your local jeweler. You have to broaden your horizons a little bit. I'm not saying go to Geneva for seasonal auctions or something like that, but hey, there's the internet. Use it.
Yeah.
And you have a car, you're in the middle of the country, basically, close enough to Canada as well. I'm sure at any given point in time for any Rolex model, you can find at least a dozen in just mainstream sources online in a 30 minutes to 45 minutes of driving distance, and you can go check them out in person, see how they look like, see what the condition of the bracelet is, of the dial is, if the lugs are still fat, if the case is mostly unabused, unmolested, if not necessarily unpolished. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You just have to open your mind a little bit. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Dis, for being here with me. And thank you on Aussie Expat as well for coming back to the show after Father's Day. Thank you again, everyone, for being in the chat, for engaging us today, where we celebrated a lot of Seikos and a lot of other accessible watches, talked quite a bit about the new GMT Seiko 5 Sports series, which I love and which I'm really excited about, because I expect them to have at least some of a similar effect that Seiko SKX series had for pumping enthusiasm into the community by injecting this love of dive watches into the community in 2010s, especially. So maybe in the 2020s, now that these GMT watches are touching the chord of getting out there and traveling again in the post-pandemic era, we can generate some of the same excitement, maybe at a reduced level, but still. I'm really happy about those releases, even though they're not perfect, even though they're still Seiko 5s. The logo is there. It's only 100 meters of a depth rating. I understand the exhibition case back. I don't, I'm not on board with that. But Ozzy made the good argument, if we are actually making the point that these are entry level watches, why not get people who are potentially getting their first mechanical watch get more excited about it? Why not let them examine that movement, take a look, and just appreciate how the rotor charges it up, how the balance spring works, so on and so forth. So it's not a bad argument. All around, I'm very excited. I know this was of two minds, but he was also saying that every time he looks at it, he kind of loves the black. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Are you considering getting one when it's released?
Maybe, and I'm leaning toward the black as well. I think that's kind of the beauty among all the three. And I understand, there's a little bit of flash and flare for the blue. The orange is unmistakably Seiko. I understand that too. But my vote is for the black. And I also appreciate, by the way, that the bezel insert apparently is also hard lex. So it has that bakelite vibe rather than aluminum or sapphire. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're signing off. Thank you again. Take care, people. I'm going to see you again at the same time, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 on the East Coast with the late show. Until then, I bid you adieu. Take care.